Zhao Wanqing, who was immersed in thinking about the currency system and reward system, suddenly seemed to sense something. The figure pulled out the electric light and appeared in the window in an instant to the surprised eyes of Li Yun and others. Beside. Boom. At this moment, a dense sonic boom struck, and then Zhao Wanqing saw the scene as gorgeous as a goddess scattering flowers. Looking at the densely packed thunder beads with tens of thousands of them, Zhao Wanqing opened her eyes slightly and her eyes were dull. She thought that her lightning power was already very powerful and terrifying, but after seeing the scene in front of her, she deeply realized that the insignificance. The dense arc of blue light disappeared into the sky, and it took a long time for Zhao Wanqing to come back to her senses. She had just sensed the large-scale lightning energy, and then she subconsciously came to the window, and then she saw this scene that she would never forget. But she didn't realize that this was not just the end, but the beginning. Boom. There was a roar of muffled thunder, and terrifying thunder energy exploded from the roof of the Dahua commercial building. The voltage was so terrifying that even Zhao Wanqing, who had the power of lightning, felt terrified. He glanced over subconsciously. At this moment, the sky turned into a thunderpool and the bucket-thick thunder snakes were raging in the air. Then the color of the sky and the earth changed. Rolling thunderclouds rolled, and the thick lead clouds seemed to be like a big mountain hanging above the head, with heavy pressure. It made Zhao Wanqing feel suffocated. Thunderbolts exploded, thunder dragons raged in the thunder clouds, and the terrifying power of God was boundless. Zhao Wanqing's heart seemed to be grasped by invisible hands. The urge to vomit blood made her quickly lower her head. The power of God cannot be violated. Fine beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. Zhao Wanqing was shocked. She looked at the roof of the Dahua commercial building out of the corner of her eye. She already had a guess in her mind. The person standing on the roof of that building must be Lin Fan. Only her master has such terrifying power. Only Lin Fan can display this kind of supreme majesty. Boom. The sky and the earth turned pale, and the terrifying thunder dragon descended from the sky, like a punishment from heaven. The world was quiet at this moment, and the gorgeous white light filled the whole world, turning the world into white. Seeing the vast whiteness in front of her eyes, Zhao Wanqing did not panic. She knew that she was not blind, but that the lightning was so dazzling that her eyes were blinded and unable to see. Outside, Lin Yuyu's eyes were slightly closed. At this time, she could not see anything. Not only her, but hundreds of women beside her could not see anything. Listening to the frightened screams of the women around her, Lin Yuyu spoke to comfort her. Said, "Calm down, the sky cannot fall. This strange phenomenon in the sky and the earth is caused by the Lord's breakthrough." Lin Yuyu's words seemed to have a great soothing effect. The panicked women calmed down instantly after hearing it, and followed closely. What a shock. Is this actually the breakthrough made by the Lord with whom we have a close relationship? Is this a vision of heaven and earth caused by a breakthrough? This is too scary? The brilliant white light did not last long, and soon everyone's eyes recovered. Countless eyes looked below the thundercloud. The moment they looked past, their eyes were stunned. On the roof of the Dahua commercial building, a blue thunderpool filled the air. In the boundless thunderpool, there seemed to be a figure standing. The figure bathed in thunder light seemed to be the coming of the god of thunder, which shocked everyone's bodies and minds. In the center of the thunderpool, Lin Fan's eyes were slightly closed, lightning flashed between his eyebrows, and a thunder and lightning emblem appeared vaguely, exuding boundless power. The thunder sea in the void was restless, and a steady stream of thunder and lightning poured into Lin Fan's body like a backward flow. Then, it was absorbed by the thunder and lightning divine emblem. The thunder sea shrank sharply, and finally turned into a point of light and disappeared. It was at this moment that Lin Fan slowly opened his eyes. Dazzling lightning burst out, and the thunder and lightning pierced the sky for hundreds of meters before slowly dissipating, distorting the air wherever it passed. Raising his hand to touch the center of his eyebrows, Lin Fan could feel that the acupoints between his eyebrows were filled with Wang Yang's sea-like thunder and lightning energy. With just a little guidance, it could burst out with terrifying destructive power. The lightning control ability continues to advance, and the lightning energy in the body skyrockets. The lightning control ability that has reached LV7 is powerful and overbearing, and is vaguely in conflict with plant energy and earth energy. In order to resolve this conflict, under the system's suggestion, Lin Fan used thunder and lightning energy to open up the acupuncture point between his eyebrows. From now on, all thunder and lightning energy will be stored here and will no longer conflict with other energies. Similarly, after the level of other types of superpowers increases, Lin Fan will also open up new acupoints to accommodate superpowers, so that it can perfectly solve the energy conflict problem caused by too much energy in various systems in the body. The sky is still pitch black, and everything around us seems to be in the dark night. If the sky in the distance is not still bright, I am afraid that the world in front of me would be completely invisible. Looking up at the dense clouds, even the dark clouds with thunder snakes raging, Lin Fan thought, and the lightning flashed between his eyebrows. The terrifying clouds covering the 10 kilometers of the Magic City slowly dispersed. In just a few seconds, the sky and the earth returned to brightness again, and the light also shone down. Changing the celestial phenomena with thoughts is a small ability of up to level 7 lightning control powers. Of course, changing the celestial phenomena is not the purpose. Level 7 lightning control powers have also become more terrifying. System. Open the Properties panel. Character, Lin Fan. Strength. 157 Agility. 152 Intelligence. 169 Physique. 174. Points. 18,191 Ability. Magnetic Field Control LV7, Lightning Control LV7, Plant Control LV4, Earth Element Control Level 4. Experience. 3,749 tenths W. 2,237 tenths W. 389 500ths. 345 hundredths possessed items. Flying Knife 100. His current attributes are simply inhuman. Lin Fan doesn't know how strong he is now, but he can guess, if he punches him, the Dahua commercial building under his feet will definitely not be able to bear it. As for whether it was directly destroyed or beaten to pieces, it is not clear. Anyway, Lin Fan felt that the Dahua commercial building could not withstand his punch. The Dahua commercial building has more than 20 floors, is over 100 meters high, and is made entirely of reinforced concrete. Even this building cannot withstand Lin Fan's punch. A punch that can collapse a mountain is nothing more than that. The points are almost over 20,000 again, so fast. Smacking his lips, Lin Fan rubbed his temples. He had just killed tens of thousands of zombies in an instant and it looked really powerful. However, to achieve precise guidance, LV7's magnetic field control ability almost completely drained his mental energy. His head was still a little heavy, but the lightning control power continued to advance, and the originally lacking lightning energy was replenished on the spot. Power experience cannot be shared. Lin Fan already knew this. LV7's magnetic field control power was short-lived. If it can't be upgraded, then it's better to upgrade the lightning power first. The result exceeded Lin Fan's expectation. The surprise brought by this lightning power was indeed great. All the zombies within a radius of 5 kilometers were vaporized, plus his head was dizzy, and Lin Fan didn't want to move anymore. As for planning the barbed wire fence, he might as well take a break or do it tomorrow. He had just made such a big noise, and all the zombies within a 10-kilometer radius were frightened by the power of God, even if he didn't have any wisdom, and he wouldn't wander around today. He didn't have to worry about zombies wandering around in the cleared area. Shaking his somewhat heavy head, Lin Fan flew straight towards the hospital. He didn't think about anything now, just he wanted to lie on the women's crotches, with a comfortable knee pillow, and then have a good rest. In fact, Lin Fan did the same. Back on the second floor of the supermarket, Lin Fan didn't even bother to change his shoes, and went straight to the sofa. Mu Yuqing was so fast that the goddess of literature and art didn't even react. Lin Fan's head was attached to the big head. "I'm so tired, let me take a rest." The 3 noble dogs who were shocked and had not recovered yet saw Lin Fan. Yu Yiren hurriedly ran to the door to get slippers, then held Lin Fan's pants and put them on for him, while Li Yun and Zhang Choewi were panicking. He ran to the side and knelt down, massaging Lin Fan's arms and legs. Zhao Wanqing walked over slowly, looked at Lin Fan who looked tired, a trace of distress flashed in her eyes, and shook her head to Mu Yuqing. Signaling without disturbing him, he lowered his head and kissed Lin Fan on the forehead. He picked up the partially written information and walked to the side carefully. Bang! With a muffled sound, the door to the inner room opened. One of them was no more than 1.5 meters tall. The little Lolita wearing Lolita came out, and the sound of shouting could be heard before she even reached the living room. Wow wow wow. Is it the one thundering outside? Uh-huh. Su Xiaoluo rushed out with shock in her heart. Before she could finish her words, she noticed that her eyes were blurry, and then her eyes were tightly covered. Zhao Wanqing stared at Su Xiaoluo, put her fingers next to her eyes, and then pointing to Lin Fan on the sofa, "Keep your voice down, do you understand?" Looking at Lin Fan on the sofa, who didn't know when he would come back, Su Xiaoluo immediately nodded his head to show that he understood. Letting go of Su Xiaoluo's little beggar, Zhao Wanqing pulled her to the corner, chirping. As he spoke, Su Xiaoluo exclaimed from time to time, and his admiring eyes frequently looked at Lin Fan on the sofa. So, was it really my brother who caused such a spectacular vision of heaven and earth just after dark? Blinking her big eyes, Su Xiaoluo couldn't help but admire her. Zhao Wanqing nodded, and Su Xiaoluo's eyes sparkled, and she asked, "Sister, are you that powerful?" "I'm not that powerful. Why aren't you that powerful?" "Zhao Wanqing. Then can you be that good in the future?" "How would I know? Why don't you speak? Do you feel that you will not be so powerful in the future?" Looking at Su Xiaoluo's delicate little face, Zhao Wanqing wanted to blow her head off. Will she be able to speak? Who the hell do I know about what will happen in the future? She rubbed her brows with a headache, and Zhao Wanqing put her backhand on her butt. He slapped his hand and said with a straight face, "Have you finished the design drawing? That's it? Big designer?" Su Xiaoluo's little face froze, and she tilted her head, with questions all over her face. Seeing Su Xiaoluo leaving in despair, Zhao Wanqing raised her eyebrows. Did the little girl want to fight with her? Not long after, on the stairs on the second floor there were footsteps, and Zhao Wanqing followed the sound and happened to see Lin Yuyu walking in. In the hospital area, Lin Yuyu saw Lin Fan flying back. Sensing that Lin Fan was in something wrong, Lin Yuyu left the maid and hurried away. After returning home, there is no doubt that Lin Fan's importance is the first in her heart. Lin Yuyu moved lightly to the edge of the sofa, as if she was afraid of disturbing Lin Fan. Looking at Lin Fan's face, Lin Yuyu was tired and felt very painful in her heart. She had seen the fireworks of that prosperous age. Precisely controlling so many thunder beads would consume a lot. Lin Yuyu probably knew how much it cost. She waved to Mu Yuqing and controlled the magnetic field. Next, Lin Fan's head was slightly raised, and she bent down to take Mu Yuqing's place. With her hands on both sides of Lin Fan's head, Lin Yuyu slowly closed her eyes, and streams of pure spiritual power slowly flowed along her fingers. The tips poured into Lin Fan's mind, nourishing his dry mental energy. With Lin Yuyu's supplement, the tiredness on Lin Fan's face relaxed a lot. Seeing this, Zhao Wanqing felt relieved and nodded towards Lin Yuyu. He nodded and turned around to continue writing information. Lin Fan used a wave of precise guidance to kill everyone happily, but some people were at a loss. The vines were rising from the ground. Looking at the zombie whose head was suddenly shot in front of him, Zhao Yanyan was stunned. Silly. Looking at the streets littered with corpses in front of her, Zhu Fangfang scratched her head and wanted to ask, but looking at Zhao Yanyan's unkind expression, she didn't know if she should ask. The zombies are all dead. Do they still want to move on? Or go home? Simply, Zhao Yanyan knew that everything just now and the vision of heaven and earth were Lin Fan's masterpiece. After scattering the vines on the ground, Zhao Yanyan waved her hand and said, "Keep going. The Lord has cleared some obstacles for us. Today's goal is 10 kilometers, come on." The women's ability to accept it has improved a lot after being hit again and again. Isn't it just a vision of heaven and earth? It's not a big problem. Anyway, Lord Lin Fan has performed miracles not once or twice, but they can still withstand it. It's just that the glare just now was a bit dazzling. The further the female warriors walked forward, the more shocked they felt. They had walked several kilometers, and there were still no corpses of zombies on the ground. Good guy. How many zombies did you kill in that instant? Moreover, it is precisely guided and only kills zombies without even damaging the surrounding environment. This is almost 5 kilometers away from the hospital. What is this? To take the enemy's head thousands of miles away. This is too fierce. Lin Fan instantly killed all the zombies within a 5-kilometer radius with one move, greatly speeding up the advancement of the women, but the shock it brought was far more than that. How terrifying is the phenomenon of heaven and earth within a radius of 10 kilometers? Some small cities can be completely covered. This large-scale vision of heaven and earth was seen by countless people, especially the terrifying power of heaven, which shocked countless survivors. There is no shortage of photography enthusiasts in the Magic City. Bai Hao was the one who photographed Lin Fan crossing the void before, and so was Shen Bingbing. When the end comes, there is no pressure from work, and all you need to do every day is to eat and wait for death. As for rescue, Shen Bingbing understands very clearly that rescue is impossible. The empire cannot rescue in its lifetime. It can only rely on the people themselves. Save yourself like this. The major empires are in crisis, and the imperial capital is also besieged by zombies. The big bosses can't get out. Who has time to save you, a little bastard? Before the end of the world, Shen Bingbing was a fitness instructor and had his own fitness club. Photography was his hobby. His favorite thing was to take pictures of the hard workouts with the students. He was comparable to Teacher Chen. After all, Teacher Chen has always been his idol. Commander Shen Bingbing is tall and handsome, with dazzling muscles that have been hard worked. Many women are very obsessed with him. In addition, he is a rich second generation. Many beautiful girls who come to the gym work hard with him and play photography. Before the end, he originally planned to take some girls with him to take some good photos with some fellow photographers. As soon as the club closed, there was an attack by zombies. He and several girls were all trapped in the club, and they were in danger. On the contrary, it made him live a life of chaos. There was a lot of food and drinking water in the club. This is the fundamental reason why Shen Bingbing and a few girls can survive until now. We played too late last night. After all, I would be sorry for these girls if they were not late. Sleeping late consumes a lot of energy, so naturally I wake up later. It was already past 3 o'clock in the afternoon when he woke up. He opened the curtains to welcome the sunshine of the new day. Suddenly, Shen Bingbing felt that blue light was flashing in front of his eyes, and the sky was full of little stars. Good guy. He thought he would be too happy this month. Most of them were hallucinating, but after wiping their eyes, they realized, holy shit, it's not dazzling. When such a magical thing appeared in front of him, Shen Bingbing became interested immediately. He pushed away the arm of an unknown girl. Shen Bingbing rummaged through the box and took out his long gun and short cannon. He narrowed the sight distance and then he saw it. A scene he would never forget in his life. On the building 7 or 8 kilometers away, there was a brilliant light. Tens of thousands of stars brought a dazzling blue electric light and fell like a blue meteor shower in all directions. Then, the sky and the earth roared, and the roof of the building turned into a sea of thunder and lightning. The color of the sky and the earth changed, and the terrifying power of heaven struck. Rays of thunder connected the sky and the earth. The roof of the building seemed to have become a magnet, constantly attracting thunder from the sky. This scene was simply amazing. The terrifying pressure came, and Shen Bingbing couldn't bear it. He half knelt on the ground with his head lowered, but the camera in his hand was still filming tenaciously. After the pressure weakened, Shen Bingbing quickly looked at the camera. And then he discovered something that made him extremely excited. In the mid-air, under the boundless sea of thunder, a figure stood proudly in it, like a god of thunder descending from the sky. The surrounding thunder and lightning were his toys. The sea of thunder dissipated. The figure waved his hand, and the thunderclouds in the sky dissipated in an instant. The sun's rays enveloped the world again. So amazing, horrible, so shocking. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes or captured it with a camera, he would have thought that everything just happened was an illusion. A scene from the myth appeared in front of him, and Shen Bingbing was indescribably excited. He had seen a video of someone traveling through the void on the internet before. He was also one of the netizens who wanted to be a fool. He hoped that a deity would pass by and rescue him, and it would be even better if he could teach him how to become an immortal. But everything was a dream. Although the popularity of the post remained unabated, Shen Bingbing no longer had any interest, but it was different now. A scene from the myth appeared in front of him. If it hadn't been too far away, or if it hadn't been for the terrifying tide of corpses underground, he would have rushed downstairs and gone straight to the distant building. He wants to make a pilgrimage, he wants to worship God. But we can only think about these things. There are so many zombies downstairs, which is an insurmountable chasm. He's not crazy yet and doesn't want to test whether the zombies' teeth are good or not. But this did not hinder his admiration for that figure, and even blazing hope arose in his heart. This Doomsday is not ordinary. Superpowers definitely exist, but they are very rare. Those superpowers should be practicing in a low-key manner and improving their strength. The person in front of me must have been successful in training, and then his breakthrough accidentally caused a strange phenomenon in the world. The successive incidents of superpowers gave Shen Bingbing a strong confidence. He believed that as long as he worked hard, he would be saved. He might even wake up one day and suddenly awaken his superpowers. This thing is probably just looking at the odds, and he has a recessive gene in his body, but he just didn't have time to wake up. Otherwise, he must also be a member of the superpowers. With such confidence, Shen Bingbing looked at the captured footage excitedly. Although it was a little blurry in the middle, it still did not damage the majesty of the boss in the video. The girls next to them were also awake. There was so much noise from the outside world, and they weren't pigs. How could they be so asleep? Looking at the pictures in the camera, these girls were shocked, but Shen Bingbing had no time to talk to them at this time. In front of this mythical picture, the women seemed so insignificant. He now felt like he was 100 times over his sage mode, let alone being wrapped in a sheet. Even if you pole dance in front of him, he can still stand still. Liu Shaohui is so weak. He just wants to do one thing now, export the video and add exciting BGM to it. No, it doesn't deserve any BGM. Only the most original first-hand video footage is the best. Shen Bingbing didn't care about anything else. He quickly opened the ignition, exported the video, clicked his fingers and wrote quickly, then edited and sent it. A huge vision. The true God came to the devil's capital, just like the God of Thunder came to the world. This boss is the real God of Thunder, I said. Who agrees? Who objects? After pressing the enter key, the excited expression on Shen Bingbing's face still did not subside. He opened the video over and over again and kept playing it for brainwashing. He was extremely excited. The scope of the vision was so large that almost the entire demon city was covered. What can be seen is just the difference between clear and fuzzy, especially the vast power of heaven and the terrifying pressure from the spiritual level that swept across the demon city at that moment. Countless survivors and even irrational zombies stopped roaring. Then they all lowered their heads. This is the awe of the power of God. This is the awe of the supreme power. Shen Bingbing is the closest, and he also has first-hand information. The magic city is boiling, countless survivors. They opened the forum, and as they expected, there was already a post. The name was attractive enough, but what was even more attractive was the clear video inside. With the clicks of an unknown number of people, the popularity of this post instantly soared, and then attracted more people clicked in. After watching the video, everyone's first reaction was 2 words. Damn it. But I am uneducated, so I can take over the world with just 1 word. I would like to ask, is there still a shortage of people in the Magic City? I have no other intention, I just want to be closer to the big guys. People in the Magic City have been frightened stupidly by the power of God. I'm in trouble. Which senior is here to overcome the tribulation? What a terrifying thunder, what a terrifying Tianwei. Gone. Magic City again. What kind of feng shui treasure is the Magic City? Why do big bosses appear one after another? The god in front hasn't gone far yet, and now another thunder god pops out. When can I, Yangcheng, stand up? Shivering. When will our imperial capital stand up? This is the emperor's feet, shaking with coldness. When can I stand up in the deep city? Our penguin empire is here, so why don't we give you face? In the past, there were gods crossing the void, and now the god of thunder has come to the world. I just want to ask, when can I go to heaven? I don't want such a big scene, the requirements are not high, as long as I can fly. In 5 minutes, I want this person's information. No matter if he is a boy or a girl. I am willing to kneel down and lick him. A boy is better, but a girl will force me to have an operation. At Mo Guo, can you change from female to male? Count me in. The same question, +1, +2, +10086. The popularity of the post was so high that in less than half an hour, it directly reached the top of the list, knocking the immortal post from the top of the list, which was originally less popular. Such a sensational effect instantly attracted all major forces. Attention, the imperial capital, the demon city warlord Liu family, all the major forces in the empire, and even foreign countries, all set their sights on the demon city at the first moment. Everyone who read the post was shocked in their hearts, and even had thoughts in their hearts. There was an illusion. Are there really no superpowers in this Doomsday? If not, what happened to these 2 consecutive videos? The previous remarks were instantly overturned. If not, there were no superpowers. If he really catches someone, I guess everyone will put their foot down on the previous remarks that there are no superpowers. The whole world was shocked, especially those countries that were besieged by zombies and were in danger, and they all extended their olive branches. As for the person involved, Lin Fan, he is still leaning on Lin Yu's big pussy, enjoying the salted fish on his knees. No one would have thought that the God and thunder in the 2 posts would actually be the same person. In the Imperial City President's office, Yan Ligung knocked on his desk, pointed at the frozen scene in the video, and said in a deep voice, "Magic City. It's Magic City again. Who can tell me how to explain these 2 consecutive supernatural phenomena? Zhao Jian, tell me, what is going on? Before that, you told me that the survey results showed that there are no people with supernatural abilities in the entire empire, but how do you explain these 2 videos in the Demon City? Peace?" Listening to the president's questioning, Zhao Jian smiled bitterly. How did he know this? It was obviously fine a month ago, but he just thought about this in his heart. If he said it, the president would probably send him packing. It's crazy. Sorry, Mr. President, according to military satellite surveys, no superpowers have been found. As for these 2 times, they are likely to be special cases. According to the investigation, all survivors in the imperial capital are just ordinary people, and the same is true in all regions. All aspects. I don't want to hear your explanation. I've heard enough of these explanations. Yan Ligung raised his hand to interrupt Zhao Jian, pointed at the frozen scene and said angrily, "I don't care what method you use, even if you send fighter jets over, you have to find this person for me." Do you get me? Zhao Zian nodded quickly. As soon as the word fighter came out, he knew the president's determination. Indeed, compared with the last one, this video has a great impact. Be careful not to use force to intimidate the other party. Use emotion, reason, and use the general trend to make the other party serve us. As long as he is still a human being and still has desires, we will definitely be able to offer conditions that make the other party interested. There is no room for error. Zhao Jian can only nod now. Facing the president who attaches great importance to him, he has no qualifications to question. Yes, Mr. President, I'm going to do it now. The commander-in-chief Lu Yuanbin of the Lu family, the warlord of the Demon City, stood at the military airport. In front of him was Yi Feng with a serious face. Not far away, there was a military helicopter waiting to take off. General, Yi Feng will definitely bring back the video producer this time. The main characters in the video and his subordinates will also work hard to bring them back. Patting Yi Feng's shoulder, Lu Yuanbin said earnestly, "You don't have to force yourself. Everything is for your own safety. When you go out this time, you can bring back those women you were interested in before. I, an old guy, also want to see them. How outstanding is the seedling that you can praise." Yi Feng's eyes flashed with excitement, and he said gratefully, "Thank you, General." "Go for it." "Yes." Yi Feng turned around and boarded the helicopter with excitement. Under the command of the signalman, the helicopter took off, left the military area all the way, and flew towards the magical city under the sunset. Sitting in the cabin, Yi Feng lowered his head and looked down. A barbed wire fence was erected around the vast military area. The area around the barbed wire fence was densely covered with zombies, numbering in the tens of thousands. At this time, an unknown number of soldiers were shooting with machine guns. Under the high-intensity firepower, the zombies outside the barbed wire fence were like being cut, falling down like wheat. Looking at these scenes, Yi Feng took a deep breath. He knew that after these zombies were completely eliminated, the military region would be dispatched to clean up the zombies in the Magic City and rescue more survivors. The helicopter disappeared in the horizon was dark, and the setting sun was like blood. I wonder if it was foreshadowing something. Just as the surroundings were turbulent, the sky gradually darkened. Zhao Yanyan and Li Siki also took the women and rushed back to the hospital before dark. More than 2 people after hours of fighting, the women have improved to varying degrees. Especially after being frightened by the power of God. The zombies are like living targets and do not know how to move. The women can kill more effortlessly. On the second floor of the supermarket, there is Lin Yuyu's mental strength was replenished, and Lin Fan had recovered, but now he was still lying lazily on Lin Yuyu's thigh, enjoying the knee pillow. Lord, you made such a big noise today, I guess you will be on the hot search again. Looking at Lin Fan with her beautiful eyes, Lin Yuyu brought the peeled sugar roasted chestnuts to Lin Fan's cup. Her tone was full of helplessness. In response to the Empress of the Palace's coquettishness, Lin Fan dropped his cup and felt aggrieved in his heart. I don't know, who knew that a small breakthrough could make such a big difference, but hot searches are just hot searches. Stop eating chestnuts and give me those potato chips. Looking at Lin Fan's squinting look, Lin Yuyu wanted to laugh. She put down the peeled sugar roasted chestnuts, pinched a piece of potato chips and put it in Lin Fan's mouth. Yuyu didn't mean anything else by what she said. It's just that with such a big movement today, it may be noticed by many eyes like last time. After all, the military district here in the Magic City mobilized a large number of troops to send helicopters over last time. No one has any intention of attacking the tiger. I am afraid that the tiger will hurt people's hearts. Lin Yuyu's worries were reasonable, and Lin Fan knew it in his heart. He ate Lin Yuyu's fingers and said in a vague tone, "So what, if they cause trouble? At worst, I will treat him as Wu Song and beat him to death on the spot." The end is coming, and we don't even think about rescuing ordinary people. Instead, they gather their own troops and become local tyrants one by one, and they dare to take advantage of us. I really don't know how to write the word death. These big guys nowadays have all change. Regarding the things in the end, Lin Fan now knows very well. The leadership of the imperial capital exists in name only. The major military regions obey the instructions but do not listen to the announcement. They all work on their own and do not care about the life and death of ordinary people. Perhaps the lower-level officers and soldiers have not changed, but those high-ranking officials have been blinded by power and are completely hopeless. He will not take the initiative to provoke the military region. If these big bosses come to hate him without knowing it, he will not be polite at all. The valiant and heroic appearance of the female soldier. Lin Fan, I still really want to give it a try. It's better if the Liu family, the warlord of the demon city, doesn't take action. If he does, he will definitely not be polite. I won't offend others unless they attack me. If he still flinches when the opponent attacks him at the door of his house, he really feels sorry for the system. And this superpower. After all, can you please loosen my fingers first? You are so old, why are you still eating my fingers? Looking down at Lin Fan helplessly, Lin Yuyu didn't know what to say. Without any sign of letting go, Lin Fan said confidently, "At first glance, you look like a child of a rich family. You are used to being lavish. You eat potato chips without licking them. Fingers. Do you still have a soul if you don't lick the bottle cap when you drink yogurt?" Poof. Lin Yuyu hadn't said anything yet. On the contrary, Zhao Wanqing, who was lowering her head and writing information beside her, couldn't help laughing. Mu Yuqing, who was kneeling next to Lin Fan and pounding her, also couldn't help but want to laugh. She turned around and looked at on Lin Fan's side. Zhao Wanqing's beautiful eyes were crescent, and she said with a smile on her face, "You can speak so righteously about everything when it comes to the Lord. Before the end of the world, our family was a good work-study boy, and he couldn't bear to eat potato chips. I think the Lord should let her eat one piece first. If you don't eat a slice, how do you know the soul of eating potato chips and licking your fingers?" Mu Yuqing has been working so hard that her little head has almost shrunk into the two little pigs. She rolled her eyes at Zhao Wanqing angrily. Lin Yuyu's expression was very vivid now, and she was not as cold and indifferent as she was outside. Appearance. "You guys have agreed to work together to make fun of me, right?" Zhao Wanqing shook her head quickly and waved her hands. "I don't dare. What if the palace empress doesn't let me sleep at night and makes me kneel on the washboard next to her?" Looking sideways at Zhao Wanqing, Lin Yuyu said angrily, "How dare I? It's just that our master won't let me kneel on the washboard. You singing in harmony is like singing a double act. How can I afford to offend you?" Lin Fan looked innocent. He had never done such a thing before. It was completely untrue. After joking for a while, Zhao Wanqing put away the smile on her face, took out her mobile phone and said seriously, "Actually, the situation is similar to what Yuyu said. Now online the video of the master showing off his power has indeed been on the hot search, and the following are all fake netizens, but I guess that the major military regions and the imperial capital must have been studying it. We may not know for sure, but we have prepared countermeasures now. My lord, are you ready? The phone floated to the sofa out of thin air. Lin Yu picked up the phone, flipped it up and down, and handed the phone to Lin Fan with a serious expression. Lord, take a look. Lin Fan took it, glanced at it casually, and commented, "It was a good shot. It can be seen that the person who took the picture is quite good. He showed my powerful side to the fullest. Look at this last wave of my hand, how chic it is." The thunderclouds in the sky dispersed with a roar. It was still a bit cool. Lin Yu. Zhao Wanqing. What are you paying attention to? Seeing the speechless expressions of the two women, Lin Fan threw away his phone and said calmly, "Just go to the hot search. If anyone wants to touch me, let them do it. I'll see who suffers in the end. If you have the ability, just go to the hot search. Throw a nuclear bomb and see whose head it lands in the end." Lin Fan's calm attitude made Zhao Wanqing and Lin Yu roll their eyes. Okay, you are so powerful. Let's not talk about this anymore. Regarding our power, I plan to use the hospital as the center and a circle of 10 kilometers as our initial sphere of influence. When the number of people increases in the future, we will slowly expand it. What do you think, Lin? Yu thought for a moment after listening, and agreed. What the Lord said is very necessary. In fact, we already have a lot of people. Counting the hundreds of people we brought back today, our force has exceeded 1,000. So fast? Zhao Wanqing looked surprised. Although she probably expected that the number of people would exceed 1,000, now that Lin Yu said it from her own words, Lin Fan still felt a little unreal. He now has more than 1,000 women under his command. This is before the end. He didn't even dare to think about it. Yes, including us, there are a total of 1,157 people. I have made some arrangements in the evening. It depends on how the women choose in the evening. In any case, the manpower will be greatly expanded this time. Speaking of this, Lin Yu smiled more on his face. Seeing his subordinates becoming more and more powerful, anyone will feel a sense of accomplishment, and Lin Yu is no exception. Oh, by the way, today I also found a very nice woman with strong fighting ability. I was very surprised when I saw her. This was the first time Lin Fan heard Lin Yu praise a woman like this, and he suddenly became interested. You are very capable in combat. How strong is it? For you to be so optimistic about it, there must be something extraordinary about it. For Yu to praise her like this, I also want to know what is so special about that woman. Zhao Wanqing was also interested. Since writing the information was a headache, she simply walked over and sat on the sofa. Seeing that Lin Fan and Zhao Wanqing were both interested, Lin Yu didn't show off. This woman killed more than 30 gun-wielding thugs by herself in a hotel corridor, and she was only shot once. Lin Fan. Damn you, are you cheating or am I cheating? Lin Fan was stunned. Good guy. A man attacked more than 30 gun-wielding thugs in the corridor. Are you kidding me? This is not realistic no matter how you look at it, right? You sure? Was she the one who killed more than 30 gun-toting thugs in the corridor? I take the liberty to ask, is your gun a cold weapon, or a gun that can shoot bullets? Lin Fan's tone changed. You must know that Lin Yu is talking about the corridor. How many styles can a hotel corridor have? 2 meters is not narrow anymore, right? How can you hide from bullets in such a big place? I really think everyone has a magnetic field. What about superpowers? Not to mention one person. Even 100 people, facing more than 30 gunmen, is not enough to kill. Zhao Wanqing's eyes were also dull. Lin Yu's words were like a fantasy. Now she was in the corridor, it would be no problem to kill more than 30 gun-wielding thugs. As an ordinary person, she would definitely do it in a matter of seconds. Could it be that that woman also has any special abilities? After thinking for a while, Zhao Wanqing could only give this answer. Lin Yu shook her head and said seriously, she is just an ordinary person, at most an agile ordinary person. She does not have our abilities. Those more than 30 what this thug was holding was a microcharge, not a pistol. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it, so I was so optimistic about her. Hiss. Before Lin Yu finished speaking, Zhao Wanqing took a breath of cold air, and Lin Fan also looked shocked. If what Lin Yu said is true, then this woman is really amazing. Lin Yu will definitely not lie. Lin Fan was very sure about this, so this woman really needed to be cultivated. This was a woman who surpassed Lin Yu and the others at the starting point. If this woman was given the right superpower, this is definitely taking off on the spot. Heifer is flying, so awesome. Killing more than 30 thugs with microchargers in a hotel corridor that is not wide. This woman is strong in every sense of the word. He doesn't look like a human anymore. This kind of treatment makes him look like the protagonist in a novel. What's this woman's name? Lin Fan is really interested now. Jasmine. This is the name of that woman. She was a killer before the end. Speaking of this, Lin Yu glanced at Lin Fan intentionally or unintentionally, with a very strong smile on her face. Speaking of which, this woman is very grateful to us. It can be regarded as an accident. How to say? Lin Yu changed into a comfortable position on the sofa, shook her head and chuckled. Your Majesty must have seen the group of people I killed this morning, right? There was a person named Wang Kui there, who had a deep grudge against Jasmine for killing her parents, but was accidentally killed by our people. She is still very grateful to us. The expression on Lin Fan's face was very strange. It took him a long time to hold back a sentence. Is this okay? Is this okay? At the door of the second floor, Zhao Yanyan kicked off her shoes and shook her little feet in high-end black stockings. She looked curiously at the living room. Li Siki next to her was also changing into slippers. She watched Zhao Yanyan's little feet disappear. In the slippers, Lin Fan withdrew his gaze in disappointment, and a fragrant wind rushed over. Li Siki slipped into Lin Fan's arms like a baby swallow, and stamped Lin Fan with a small bead. Go and wash away the corpse stench from your body, it's becoming more and more unruly. Lin Yu frowned, glared at Li Siki, and reprimanded. Li Siki was still very afraid of Lin Yu, the empress of the palace. Hearing this, she quickly got up, picked up the corner of her clothes, smelled it, and ran to the bathroom with a sad face. Where's the smell? Listening to Li Siki muttering in a low voice, Lin Fan also wanted to ask, where is the smell? All he smelled was the girl's body fragrance. Zhao Yanyan walked over slowly, and the beautiful beauty had a sense of charm, which was different. With Li Siki, Zhao Yanyan sat on the sofa skillfully, holding Lin Fan's other penis in her arms, tapping it gently with her little hands, looking at Lin Fan curiously, and said doubtfully, My lord, what were you just talking about? Is this okay? Lin Fan has already washed up. He is now wearing large pants, which feel very comfortable against Zhao Yanyan's crotch. Mu Yuqing said what he just said in a soft tone. Zhao Yanyan's eyes widened after hearing this, with a face full of disbelief. Isn't this woman too powerful? If it were me, the coffin would be ready. No wonder Zhao Yanyan was surprised. The main reason is that the news is too shocking. None of the plots in the novel are so exaggerated. Lin Yu smiled sweetly when she heard the words. She didn't take Zhao Yanyan's words to heart. After all, there are no ifs. The circumstances were different, just like she was very grateful to meet Lin Fan. If it hadn't been like this, she might have either starved to death, or collapsed and rushed out to be eaten by zombies. She shook her head and shook off these distracting thoughts. He continued, not only is she powerful, she is also very beautiful. She has a heroic look on her face, and she is fierce and decisive in her actions. The key is that she has a very lovable personality. She is the kind of good girl who dares to love and hate, and knows how to repay kindness. Back then, Zhou Shuyan he saved her and still doesn't want to leave her. It is undeniable that Lin Yu is very optimistic about Jasmine, and even spared no effort to praise Jasmine in Lin Fan's place. She has a lovable personality, good talent, strong strength, and she is beautiful. In Lin Yu's opinion, these shining points are enough for Lin Fan to accept her. It's really a shame not to accept such good seedlings for core cultivation. Lin Fan also heard what Lin Yu meant, but didn't say much. Let this kind of thing take its course. He is now around surrounded by so many beauties, there was no need for him to go out of his way to do anything. He believed that sooner or later that woman would climb to the core level, and there was no need for him to go out of his way to accommodate her. What is the origin of Zhou Shuyan? This woman shouldn't be simple either, right? Lin Fan felt that this name was a bit familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it before. Zhou Shuyan. Lin Yu paused and said, this woman is also a legend. Wan Qing should have heard of her. Legend? Lin Fan looked at Zhao Wanqing. Zhao Wanqing's eyes were thoughtful. She didn't just know Zhou Shuyan. She vaguely remembered that when she was in the intensive care unit, she asked all her contacts for help, but not many responded to her, and Zhou Shuyan was one of them. Zhao Wanqing often went to the dark fragrance bar before her death. It was a high-end and stylish bar. She and Zhou Shuyan were considered to be very close friends. When she asked for help, Zhou Shuyan responded to her clearly. It probably meant that she was told to wait, and she would try to save her, but it was a pity that she never waited, and she was the type of person who was unable to catch her. In this case, Zhao Wanqing did not complain about anything. After all, the dark fragrance bar was only a few steps away from the hospital. Is it far? A journey of 8 or 9 kilometers. Trying to cross the sea of corpses is simply a fantasy. In any case, Zhou Shuyan was able to respond to her and promised to save her in such a doomsday situation. Regardless of whether he could do it or not, this friendship alone was enough for her to remember in her heart. It's just such a coincidence that before Zhou Shuyan came to rescue her, she was packed up and taken to the hospital first. Zhou Shuyan is indeed a legendary woman. Compared with her, my starting point is too high. 10 years ago, she only had a few $100s in her hand. During this period, she suffered all kinds of coercion, intimidation, and various difficulties, but she survived all kinds of difficulties. From a net worth of a few hundred to a net worth of over 1 billion before the end, she was indeed a legend. Moreover, she was one of the few friends after the apocalypse who promised to come to the hospital to save me. Speaking of the word friend, Zhao Wanqing smiled softly. The indescribable irony was probably because she had seen through the warmth and coldness of human relationships and the coldness of the end. And the more clearly you see it, the more many things are worth cherishing. By the way, Lord, let me tell you, my best friend is no worse than me in appearance, figure or temperament. I have investigated before and it seems that this is the eldest lady of the Zhou family who ran away from the imperial capital because she escaped from marriage. Now you are in your 30s, and you are not very mature. Do you want me to help you connect the dots? What I heard before was fine. Lin Fan was also surprised by Zhou Shuyan's legendary life. After all, she was a female prostitute, working alone from a few hundred yuan to being worth over 1 billion before the end. How difficult is it? If you think about it for a moment, you can know it. But the next sentence is a direct misunderstanding. What's going on? Is he such a person who has never seen a woman? Looking at Zhao Wanqing sideways, Lin Fan said angrily, "If you want to go over and see me, just say so. Don't drag me along. You've made me the good guy, and you've made me the bad guy, right? Go quickly, don't be an eyesore here." Zhao Wanqing covered her face and chuckled twice, lowered her head and kissed Lin Fan, then ran towards the door with a smile. "Sir, I'm leaving right now, don't be angry." Seeing Zhao Wanqing running out, Lin Yuyu shook her head and shouted, "Come back early, it's time to eat later." At the door of the second floor, Zhao Wanqing waved her hand. "Sister, you can eat, you can eat. I'll just come back and eat the leftovers." God stepped on the horse and left the leftovers. Lin Fan's face turned black. "I think it would be better to let her kneel on the washboard at night." "Well, sir, you have the final say." Lin Yuyu silently repaired her wounds. Just after running out of the supermarket, Zhao Wanqing suddenly shuddered and suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. The 9th floor of the hospital dormitory is a dormitory building for maids. Zhou Shuyan and Jasmine were temporarily placed there. Here, they will be separated after they make a choice, whether to be the lowest maid or pick up a knife and become a warrior to fight zombies. Sitting on the bed, Jasmine is a little absent-minded. She has not reacted until now. She has something to do with her. Wang Kui, who had deep hatred, is dead. He died so easily, just like an adult stepping on a few ants. In fact, this is really the case. With the strength of the mistress, killing Wang Kui and the others is just like stepping on them. It was as simple as killing a few ants. Looking at Jasmine in a daze, Zhou Shuyan was also a little distracted. This is the second key hospital in the Magic City. She remembered that someone was trapped here. That person was her best friend. She and the other person before the end, she had a very good relationship with her, and she also received requests for help from the other party after the apocalypse, but she was completely powerless at that time. The Anxiong Bar was nearly 9 kilometers away from the hospital, and there were tens of thousands of corpses in the middle. She couldn't get through it at all, and even more not to mention that Wang Kui's Junlong Hotel was standing in front of her. She had no choice but to try to comfort him. Then there was no news and she didn't know if the other party was still alive. Until she came here, she inquired about it and found out that there was no such person as Zhao Wanqing, so she was a little surprised by the news she received. Zhao Wanqing, her close best friend before the end of the world, turned out to be one of the matrons of this hospital. The changes in the world really made her a little unexpected, and knowing about Zhao Wanqing's identity, she did not go to find the other party. She did not know Zhao Wanqing's attitude. People will change. She did not know whether Zhao Wanqing had changed. She did not want to humiliate herself. 10 years ago, she could work from a few hundred yuan to a billion with her worth. She believes she can do it now. Hello, mistress. Hello, mistress. A tidy voice came from the corridor outside the door. Zhou Shuyan came back to her senses and looked at the door. Next to the open door, a mature and noble figure stood there at some point. Knocking on the open door, Zhao Wanqing he clasped his hands in front of him and asked with a smile, "Do you mind inviting me in to sit down? Would you mind asking me to come in and sit down?" Looking at the smiling Zhao Wanqing at the door, Zhou Shuyan took a deep breath and felt indescribably moved. Zhao Wanqing took the initiative to come to her, which meant that she remembered the relationship between best friends, which made many viewers she has lost sight of the warmth of human relationships, and has seen too many insults, abandoning her wife and children, and her eyes are a little wet. "Come in." Hurrying up and walking to the door, Zhou Shuyan wanted to pull Zhao Wanqing in, but when she thought of her and Zhao Wanqing's current identities, she looked a little gloomy for a moment, and bent down to kneel down. This was the rule taught to her by the maids before. Before making a choice, everyone is a maid, and it is natural for them to kneel down when they see their master. Raising her hand to hold Zhou Shuyan, Zhao Wanqing said helplessly, "I came to you, and I didn't come to show off. What do you think? Am I that kind of person?" This is the rule. How did Zhou Shuyan ever want to kneel down and salute? In the most difficult time before the end of the world, she had never knelt down for others, but now it is the end of the world, and people have to bow their heads under the eaves. Zhao Wanqing lazily ignored Zhou Shuyan, and pulled her. He walked to the bedside and sat down with his arms. His eyes swept over Jasmine. Zhao Wanqing could feel a slight crisis. Her current strength was extraordinary. It could make her feel a slight crisis. This was enough to prove that Jasmine's strength. "Are you Jasmine?" Jasmine was stunned for a moment, her eyes a little confused. Why did this good guy mention her? She didn't remember seeing the woman in front of her. "Ah, yes, to the mistress, I am Jasmine." After reacting, Jasmine gritted her teeth, lowered her head and was about to kneel down. She is not stupid, and she has to get used to some things. Raising her hand to support Jasmine, Zhao Wanqing glanced at the door, waved her hand, and blue lightning flashed. After that, the door was closed. Seeing Zhao Wanqing's sudden move, Zhou Shuyan and Jasmine were stunned. What did they see? Was Zhao Wanqing's hand discharged just now? Seeing the stunned expressions of the two women, Zhao Wanqing did not cover it up. "Raise your palms." The light of thunder and lightning dances in your palms, and the sound of cracking echoes in the room. You. Zhou Shuyan worked hard and quickly realized that Zhao Wanqing's identity was the mistress. She had heard the maids say before that the mistresses all had divine powers, and Zhao Wanqing's divine power was thunder and lightning. "This is the divine power given to me by the Lord, which allows me to control the power of thunder and lightning." With a calm expression, as if she was saying something ordinary, Zhao Wanqing put away the lightning in her palm, took Zhou Shuyan's hand and said, "I wanted to ask you for help back then, but now I am no longer the same person as before. A woman who has no power to restrain a chicken but will be afraid of screaming women when they see zombies." Hearing this, Zhou Shuyan felt bitter in her heart. "Wanqing, I'm sorry that I couldn't save you when you needed me." Raising her hand to stop Zhou Shuyan's words, Zhao Wanqing didn't take it to heart and said with a smile, "Thank you for not coming to save me, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to meet my master. Don't you blame me?" Looking at Zhou Shuyan strangely, seeing her depressed expression, Zhao Wanqing suddenly had an idea in her mind. "Do you think that I am unwilling and forced to commit myself to the Lord? or is it my fault that you didn't come to save me? Said. Zhao Wanqing took out her mobile phone and opened the dialogue box with Zhou Shuyan. Most of them were talking to Zhou Shuyan. The latest one was 2 days ago. See it? You have not given up on me, but I was already desperate and gave up communicating with the outside world. Later, when I met the Lord, I had no time to read messages. In fact, I only officially became the Lord's woman yesterday. Before that, I didn't dare to ask to save you because I wasn't qualified. But fortunately, you are still safe and I am very happy. This is enough. The smile on Zhao Wanqing's face and the happy expression between her eyebrows did not seem to be fake. Zhou Shuyan was silent. After a while, she slowly said, "Thank you, Wanqing." Patting Zhou Shuyan's jade hand, Zhao Wanqing said seriously, "Shuyan, look at me. I have something very important to ask you. This is also one of the purposes of my coming here." "What? Do you want to be a woman of the Lord?" Zhao Wanqing raised her hand to stop Zhou Shuyan, who wanted to speak, and continued. "Don't be in a hurry to answer me, and don't be in a hurry to refuse. I'm just asking about your intention this time. After all, you can't enter the core level just because you want to. Yes, there are many people who want to go in. You can consider it slowly. As a good sister, I prefer you to be with me. You will gradually discover how good the Lord is in the future. Another thing is that I know you are smart. You can think about the new monetary policy and reward system. This can also be regarded as your qualifications for promotion. I have been worried about this matter recently." Zhao Wanqing turned her eyes and looked at Jasmine next to her. "And you? Ah. And I?" Jasmine's eyes widened and she waved her hands quickly. No, 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 I'm not the material for this. Thinking about money and stuff gives me a headache. That's not what I'm talking to you about." Zhao Wanqing rolled her eyes and said speechlessly. "You are now the focus of our attention. Sister praises you so much. If you perform well, you will have a bright future. Of course, the premise is that you can get the approval of the Lord and become a harmonious person. I have the same identity. That's it, I thought." Jasmine scratched her head in embarrassment. She didn't look like a cold killer who could kill more than 30 thugs in the corridor. If it weren't for that faint sense of crisis, Zhao Wanqing would have doubted whether this was a fake. "I've said it all. I probably know the choice of your identity. Tomorrow I will take you two to clean up the zombies, so work hard." Zhao Wanqing reached out and hugged Zhou Shuyan, patted her back, and slowly stood up. "You guys have a good rest, it's time for me to go." Zhou Shuyan did not hold back, and she and Jasmine walked to the door. It was not until Zhao Wanqing's figure disappeared that Zhou Shuyan and Jasmine walked back to the room under the gaze of many women. Women all love gossip. After a while, the original secret fragrance, a group of women who came out of the bar, all ran to Zhou Shuyan, chattering and asking questions. The mess was like thousands of ducks quacking at the same time. Zhou Shuyan originally planned to think of something, but now her head is getting big. After finally sending away the group of women, Zhou Shuyan closed the door and sat back on the bed tiredly, not wanting to move at all. Jasmine swayed her white and tender pussy. After taking a bath, she was not wearing tight clothes and looked very relaxed. Looking at Zhou Shuyan, who looked like a salted fish, Jasmine asked curiously, "Sister Yan, what do you think? Do you really want to be a breath of fresh air?" Zhou Shuyan closed her beautiful eyes and hummed twice, and said, "Of course not. Wanqing's intention of coming here is obvious. The two of us should be noticed at the core level. In fact, we will not be able to escape sooner or later. You and I both know this in our hearts. The difference lies in who wants to take action when. But I estimate that this time will be very, very long. After all, that person is not in short supply of women. This is just the right time for us to show off. At least we can't be too cowardly to enter the core layer. We want to let that person know that we are really capable. Wanqing is proud and arrogant. A man she can recognize is definitely not bad. What else can I choose? The general meaning is that you can lick, but there is no need to go too far. Appropriately express your own value and show your beauty. That's about it." What Zhou Shuyan said made Jasmine stunned for a long time. She didn't react for a long time. It took a long time to hold back a sentence. Is this the old woman? Terrible, what a lot of scheming. After hearing this, Zhou Shuyan jumped up and her face turned green. What does it mean to be an old woman? Can she speak? What does it mean to be scheming? Is this called having a brain? Damn girl. I'm going to tear you apart right now. I am only 31 years old, so why am I already an old woman? A woman's most golden age. This is called maturity, you know nothing. What else is scheming? This is the wisdom of women. If I don't teach you a lesson for 3 days, you will go to my house and see how I deal with you. If I don't beat you for 2 days, you won't know that your sister is also good at both civil and military skills. Zhou Shuyan, fuming with anger, pounced directly on Jasmine, and grabbing her was a severe beating from society. At the supermarket, Zhao Wanqing came back just in time for dinner. After dinner, Su Xiaoluo rushed to Lin Fan and grabbed him just ran. Su Xiaoluo led her all the way back to the room. Before Lin Fan could realize what was going on, he saw her putting a bunch of design drawings in front of him. What is this? Su Xiaoluo urged with an excited look on his face. Of course it's a design drawing. Come and see if it works. This is the proud work of my hard work. This is a bird's eye view. This is a floor plan. This is a cross-section of the main hall. And this is the city wall design you want. And this is the design style. Are you satisfied with it? Looking at the pile of drawings in front of him, Lin Fan's head felt heavy. However, looking at Su Xiaoluo's 2 dark circles under his eyes and his slightly haggard face, Lin Fan reluctantly lowered his head and looked through them one by one. Even though Lin Fan didn't understand anything, he could see that this design was not simple. Just looking at the design drawings, you can feel the beauty coming over you. An excellent designer is also an excellent painter. And Su Xiaoluo is undoubtedly the best among them. The design is a palace-style design, which combines Eastern and Western architectural styles. Just looking at the design drawings, a sense of grace and luxury will come to you. The city wall design is quite satisfactory, and there is almost no difference between the ancient city walls. In fact, the ancient city walls have reached their peak, and there are not many things that need to be changed. Putting down the drawing in his hand, he turned to look at the expectant little Lolita. Lin Fan raised his hand and looked at her. He rubbed her head, then picked her up and put her in his arms. The little Loli was not big, small, and as light as holding a ball of cotton. Thank you for your hard work. The design is very good. I thought it would take a long time, but I didn't expect you to finish it in just a few days. Lin Fan's compliment immediately made Su Xiaoluo feel proud. She was a little shy at first because she was suddenly held in her arms, but now she didn't look shy at all. She raised her delicate little chin and hummed with her hands on her hips. That's who I am. I am Su Xiaoluo, a famous architectural design master. After saying that, he couldn't help but yawned, and all his original aura was immediately gone. Looking at the tiredness in the little Loli's big eyes, Lin Fan shook his head and asked, "How long have you not slept? I remember telling you not to stay up late, right?" Without. I didn't stay up late. I slept for 2 hours the day before yesterday. Which day? The day before yesterday. Lin Fan's face suddenly turned dark. How many times have you slept in these days? Seeing Lin Fan's unkind expression, Su Xiaoluo panicked and couldn't be awesome anymore. I didn't stay up late. Staying up late doesn't count as staying up late. I will punish your heresy today. Fan must have failed to deal with Su Xiaoluo in the end of Fire of the Demonic Cat. After the excitement of the treasure presentation was over, the little Loli became tired and felt a little kowtow after eating. He looked like he was sleeping, and now he fell asleep directly in Lin Fan's arms. I don't know how much time passed, but the closed door opened, and Lin Yu walked in gracefully, with an elegant and dignified posture, and an indescribable majesty. Looking at Su Xiaoluo, who was holding Lin Fan's collar with her little hands and sleeping like a child, Lin Yu smiled slightly and walked lighter. Why did Luo go to bed so early? You haven't gone out for more than 2 hours. I thought I was going to stay here tonight. Lin Fan looked at the design drawings next to him and gestured. Let's take a look. Our great designer worked hard. This girl usually doesn't care. The last time she slept was the day before yesterday, and she only slept for 2 hours. Now, I've had enough trouble and just fell asleep without caring about anything. What can I do? The little Lolita is not big, but her little hand holding the collar is quite strong. Lin Fan tried at first and failed to put Su Xiaoluo down, so he was too lazy to move. He picked up the design drawings next to him and looked through them one by one. The more she looked at Lin Yu, the more surprised she looked on her face. Although she didn't know much about design, She had to say that Su Xiaoluo was definitely a master in terms of painting, and the effects of the paintings were absolutely unparalleled in terms of beauty. After looking through the design drawings one by one, Lin Yuyu looked at the sleeping Su Xiaoluo again with a softer look. These dozen or so pictures did not look simple. One can imagine how much Su Xiaoluo has become in the past few days. Tired. He moved a chair and sat down next to him. Lin Yuyu didn't say anything. He just stayed by his side quietly and looked at Su Xiaoluo, who was sleeping soundly. It was almost 10 o'clock in the evening. Lin Fan moved his arms. His big hand gently placed on Su Xiaoluo's little hand. I don't know if it was because he was fast asleep. This time he easily took off Su Xiaoluo's little hand that was holding on to his clothes. He was holding the ultra-small little one. Loli walked to the bed and put it down, covering her with the quilt gently. Lin Fan lowered his head and kissed her on her smooth forehead before getting up. Watching Lin Fan close the door, a cunning look flashed in Lin Yuyu's eyes. Colorful, he joked. The Lord looked very much like my old father just now, and he really looked like that. Lin Fan was speechless. Does he look that old? But Su Xiaoluo's body shape really looks like a little Lolita who hasn't grown up. He is an old father. Can't think about it anymore. Staring at Lin Yuyu fiercely, Lin Fan said with a dark face. You have nothing to say, right? I noticed that you are getting more and more naughty. Tell me honestly, have everything been arranged? Tell me one by one. If there is one thing that has not been arranged, tonight, I will show you what the old father's anger is. She glanced at Lin Fan with a charming look, and with endless charm. Lin Yuyu put away her thoughts of joking and said seriously. The dormitory, I've already gone over there, and the women I brought back this time were a bit unexpected. Maybe it's because of Zhou Shuyan. All the women coming out of the dark fragrance bar chose the female warrior side. As for the women who originally belonged to the Zhenlong Hotel, in terms of selection, the majority were female warriors. Overall, it was 2-8. Female warriors accounted for 80%, and the number was approximately 621. So much? Lin Fan looked surprised. This ratio is really too exaggerated. To be honest, when I first learned about it, I was surprised. It was beyond my expectation. Later I found out that the women in the dark fragrance bar had seen blood and killed zombies with their own hands. Lin Yuyu couldn't express the emotion in her words. As a woman, she understands women better. The number of female warriors has expanded so fast, which really surprised Lin Fan, but in terms of points, more than 6,000 will be handed over soon. Tang Dao is worth 10 points. And after this consumption, I am afraid that I will not be able to earn back from these women in a short time. There are really not many zombies near the hospital. If I want to kill the zombies, I am afraid I have to go to Kiba, it's kilometers away, and a lot of time is wasted running back and forth. However, these points still have to be spent. Many things cannot only be based on immediate benefits. We can't just pick sesame seeds and lose the watermelons. These more than 6,000 points must be spent. I know this. Is there anything else? He hugged Lin Yuyu and walked to the sofa to sit down. It was still early, so Lin Fan was not in a hurry to sleep. The rest is up to Yan Yan and the others. The mission you gave us before has been successfully completed because of the Lord. The zombies in the east and west directions have been completely cleaned up. The target is the 10 kilometers previously set, including all the zombies in the house. Cleaned up. In other words, as long as we clean up the zombies in the north and south directions tomorrow, we can ensure the safety within 10 kilometers. The next step will be up to the master. Lin Yuyu is not only the empress of the palace, but also the general manager of the hospital. She has to take care of almost everything. Fortunately, Lin Yuyu also has this ability and handles things in an orderly manner. Lin Fan would probably be bored to death. The zombies in the east and west have been cleaned up. Lin Fan murmured to himself, holding his chin and thinking for a while. He thought of the design drawing he would see. We really don't have time to build the most cumbersome inner city palace now, but if it is a city wall, it seems that it can be built in advance. Then women will not have to run several kilometers every day to kill zombies. The city wall can completely block the influx of zombies. When the corpses and messy vehicles on the streets are cleaned up, the streets can be used normally. By then, the female warriors will drive faster and travel more conveniently. Especially due to the outbreak of zombies, the population has dropped sharply. There are only more than 1,000 women on his side in a huge 10-kilometer area. There will be no traffic jams or blind lights at all. You can reach it directly with just one step of the accelerator without using any brakes. Beside the city wall, 10 kilometers away. If a normal person walks, it is indeed a bit far, but if you drive, especially if you don't need to brake to slow down, even an old car can finish the trip in about 20 minutes, right? Not to mention that you can go more than 100 miles with just one step of the accelerator, and you don't have to wait for the lights. It can be reached in 5 or 6 minutes, isn't it? If you think so, it costs more than 6,000 points. The female warriors kill zombies outside the city wall during the day, rest on the city wall at night, and change shifts the next day, so they can earn back quickly. It's not considered a long-term investment at all. The more I think about it, the more I feel that this is feasible. The only difficulty is building a city wall, but this is not too difficult. Ordinary man-made city walls are very difficult, but Lin Fan is different. Earth-type powers can completely build a city wall at will. The only difficulty is that a 10-kilometer-long city wall consumes too much energy. Even if you step on the ground, the Earth energy recovery speed will be doubled, but the quality can be completely guaranteed. As the level of Earth attribute abilities increases, the solidity of Earth attribute abilities also increases. Lin Fan doesn't know how strong the defense of the Earth wall created by level 4 Earth element control is. He will have to try it tomorrow to find out. Of course, the level of L4 is definitely not enough. Tomorrow's task is a bit difficult. To build the city wall, we need to upgrade the level of the Earth attribute, at least to L6. In this way, we can probably get some guarantees in terms of defense and energy when building the city wall. Lin Fan had already planned in this regard. This is why he taught Li Siki the Earth element ability. It was not just because she studied civil engineering. This can only be said to be a coincidence in the professional counterpart. If Zhao Yanyan studied civil engineering, the Earth element, if you have superpowers, you won't be Li Siki. This thing also pays attention to prescribing the right medicine. Li Siki knows this aspect very well, and will definitely be able to exert more power from the unearthed abilities. Speaking of which, there was Mu Yuqing. I remember that her occupation before the end was a veterinarian. Thinking of Cat Lady, Lin Fan suddenly felt a jump in his heart and felt a little panicked. System, let me ask you something. If I redeem a cat-type ability, I won't become a catman, right? When I think about myself wearing cat ears and a cat tail, Lin Fan's face turns a little green. This picture is a bit scary. Lin Fan thinks it's cute when a girl wears cat ears and a cat tail. If it were him, forget it. If this problem cannot be solved, it's okay not to redeem this cat-type ability. Lord, this is controllable. As a user, if you don't want it to happen, this situation will not happen. You will only have cat-type superpowers. Please rest assured. The clear and melodious sound of the system has never been so good. Lin Fan breathed a sigh of relief, but the question came, does the cat-type have any special abilities? Turn into a cat-eared girl. Increase your agility and then kill zombies? It doesn't seem to be very strong. Even if the only martial arts in the world are fast, no matter how fast you are, you can't withstand a large-scale ground washing attack. This is a bit useless. You can't be a Catwoman killer, right? With his strength, does he need to assassinate anyone? Lord, please rest assured that 10,000 points are definitely worth the money. Different people will awaken different abilities when using cat powers. It varies from person to person. They may have wind powers, or they may have dark powers. Department of Superpowers. Lin Fan's eyes lit up and he asked in his mind, will there be time, space, and destiny abilities? My lord, cat-type powers are only worth 10,000 points, but it's not entirely impossible. There may be variants, but space and time powers, even in mythology, don't seem to be mastered by that cat. Having gained a general understanding of cat-type abilities through the system, Lin Fan felt relieved. Of course, he was still a little coveted in terms of abilities. System, exchange it for me for cat powers. Ding! After deducting 10,000 points, congratulations on getting the cat power, and now the fusion begins. The system prompt disappeared, and a strange warm current spread in the body. Under the adjustment of this warm current, Lin Fan could feel that the coordination and agility of the body had been improved, and at the same time, a scorching power spread in the body. Ding! You have successfully integrated cat powers and awakened additional powers, Demon Fire. Demon Fire. Lin Fan smacked his tongue, feeling a little regretful, but not too disappointed. Just think about space and time. System. Probably personal properties panel. Character. Lin Fan. Strength. 158 agility. 157 intelligence. 170 physique. 176 points. 12,360 ability. Magnetic field control LV7, lightning control LV7, plant control LV4, earth element control LV4, one-tailed demon cat. Experience. 3,749 tenths W. 2,237 tenths W. 389 500ths. 345 hundredths. 0 tenths. Items owned. Throwing knives * 100 in terms of attributes, only the agility attribute has improved more, probably because the cat is more agile. It's high, but in terms of points, it's a bit unexpected. It was originally more than 18,000, but unexpectedly, 10,000 was deducted, leaving more than 12,000. It seems that Zhao Yanyan and the others killed a lot of zombies during the few hours he rested. But what does this one-tailed demon cat mean? What about the flower job? System. Does this have 2 tails and 3 tails? 9-tailed demon cat? Does that mean there have to be 9 abilities? Lin Fan is interested. If this is the case, these 10,000 points will be worth it. As we all know, cats have 9 lives. The 9-tailed demon cat comes from myths and legends. Each 9 tails is different and naturally has different abilities. The Lord's luck is still very good. The system's accurate answer made Lin Fan's heart skip a beat. This surprise came too suddenly. Is it worth it to exchange 10,000 points for 9 abilities? It's so worth it, even if there are no such powers as space and time in the end. But it is also very scary. How many zombies do you need to kill to upgrade to 9 tails? The promotion experience is the same. Now the lightning power and magnetic field power level 7 require 100,000 experience. When the 9-tailed demon cat's power is upgraded to the 9 tails realm, with high-level abilities such as space and time, Lin Fan can be sure that he has redeemed them long ago. As long as the 9-tailed demon cat's ability is advanced once, it is equivalent to saving at least 10,000 points. This is simply the most excellent financial management skills. System. You said there is a 9-tailed demon cat, will there be a 9-tailed demon fox? System. Lord, please don't daydream. Being too greedy is a bad thing. It depends on luck. Not every time you will be lucky enough to draw the best beast abilities, especially the mythical ones. The system's words were undoubtedly a reminder and a warning. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. This 9-tailed demon cat was probably triggered by draining all his recent European energy at once. If he wanted the 9-tailed demon cat, he must at least save some European energy for a period of time. Is this what the system means? Lin Fan doesn't know if he misinterpreted it. Anyway, he doesn't want to be upset now. There is no need at all. After all, he will spend more than 6,000 points to buy Tang Dynasty tomorrow. The sword, when the time comes, wave your hand, good guy, the Tang sword is not enough. Let's not talk about whether it will lose the status, but the force will definitely be lost. In order to maintain the image of being omnipotent, Lin Fan thought it would be better to calm down a little. People be content and be content. The result of spending too much money on your head is often blue sky and white clouds, which is undesirable. Coming back from his meditation, Lin Fan found that Zhao Yanyan and the others had already sat on the edge of the sofa at some point. They surrounded him, and everyone was paying attention to him. As the person closest to Lin Fan, Lin Yuyu leaned in Lin Fan's arms. As soon as he made a move, Lin Yuyu felt it. My lord, have you finished your thoughts? He lowered his head and kissed Lin Yuyu on the forehead as a reward. Lin Fan knew that he was deep in thought just now. Lin Yuyu was obedient and did not disturb his thoughts. Lin Fan still liked Lin Yuyu's obedient character. As a man, wouldn't like the kind of woman who doesn't wink and likes to make trouble without reason. Lin Yuyu is very good like this. Even Zhao Wanqing and Zhao Yanyan have never bothered him. At this point, Lin Fan is still very comfortable. Well, after thinking about it for a while, I plan to make some big moves tomorrow. Yo-Yo, there are some things that I need you to arrange tomorrow. Putting my arms around Lin Yu's slender waist, Lin Fan couldn't put it down because of the delicate feel of her skin. When they heard Lin Fan's big moves, the women's eyes looked very concerned, and Lin Yu also looked at Lin Fan with searching eyes. Scatter all the women out tomorrow and clean up the wreckage on the streets, especially the scrapped vehicles. All of them will be broken down into steel. I'm going to trouble you. If you can still drive the car, drive it to the hospital and save it for future use. Tomorrow's task is to keep the roads clear within a radius of 10 kilometers and leave some cars as transportation tools. Try to choose those SUVs, buses are better. In addition, select a group of women who can drive. They can be maids or female soldiers. In the future, as our power develops, there must be various jobs. It is impossible for everyone to be fruit farmers. The professions must be diversified to form a reasonable ecosystem. As for Wanqing, your mission is to ensure that there is not a single zombie within a 10-kilometer radius. I will first erect a barbed wire fence to ensure that no zombies will come in again. The next step is up to you. In addition, the older batch, the female warriors, can leave 10 kilometers to go further to improve their strength, while the 10 kilometers are left to the new soldiers to practice. Lin Fan kept looking up. Lin Yu, Zhao Wanqing and others kept nodding, taking Lin Fan's explanation to heart. The women all knew in their hearts that this was indeed a big move, and Lin Fan was going to make drastic changes. And these things, whether it is road transportation or the ecosystem of various professions, are all necessary things for a power. Do you remember everything I said? Lin Fan looked around and said so much in one breath that his mouth was a little dry. Li Yun, who was waiting next to him, quickly handed over a glass of warm water. Lin Fan took it and drank it in one gulp, then handed the cup back. He gave it to Li Yun and nodded to her. Although it was just a nod, in Li Yun's view, it was undoubtedly a kind of recognition, which made her feel indescribably excited. After digesting Lin Fan's plan for tomorrow, Lin Yu and others nodded and responded. After talking about tomorrow's plans, Lin Fan looked at Mu Yuqing, who was sitting opposite, raised his hand and waved to her. Qingqing, come here. Hearing Lin Fan's call, Mu Yuqing felt happy and unspeakably uneasy. She probably already knew what was going to happen. Two good friends, Zhao Yanyan and Li Siki, had already received the divine power given by Lin Fan. She was the only one who knew. It was impossible not to feel disappointed. She saw the abilities of the two good sisters, and she was extremely envious of them. Sometimes she would feel a little jealous, but she was quickly extinguished. She was not a sage, and Mu Yuqing was definitely not one. No matter how well educated and gentle she was, she still had emotions and desires. Now Lin Fan's call made her heart beat unsatisfactorily. She snuggled next to Lin Fan. Mu Yuqing raised her head and looked up at Lin Fan, with indescribable longing in her eyes. It seems that you also know what is going to happen next. Will you complain if you are later than Yanyan and the others? Pinching Mu Yuqing's delicate chin, the touch was like mutton fat white jade. He shook his head in panic. Don't say there is no. Even if there is, Mu Yuqing will know what to say now. How dare my subordinates complain? To be able to receive your reward, Qingqing is only excited and grateful in her heart, and does not dare to complain at all. If it were not for the Lord, Qingqing still doesn't know what would have happened. Men are all scum, and Lin Fan is the same. He naturally likes to listen to these soft words and flattery. Okay. I won't tease you anymore. There will be a lot of things tomorrow, so I won't make so much fuss. I'll give you the ability that you need to get familiar with tomorrow. Mu Yuqing was excited. She rubbed Lin Fan's fingers and said gratefully, Thank you, Lord, for the gift. I will definitely not slack off at all. Lin Fan doesn't know the clone technique and has so many superpowers. If he wants to reach the full level by himself, it's just a dream. Women's help is essential. System teaches Demon Cat's superpowers. Target Mu Yuqing. Ding. After deducting 1000 points, we now begin to separate the Demon Cat superpower subtypes. That's what's good about imparting superpowers. As long as Lin Fan has it, the person who imparts it must be the same as Lin Fan. The nine-tailed demon cat belongs to the mythical category and can be said to be the pinnacle of the cat category. Compared to Mu Yuqing's own awakening, Lin Fan can say that he will never lose anything. If Mu Yuqing is allowed to awaken on his own, There is a high chance that he will awaken a garbage ability, which will be a huge loss. The seeds poured into Mu Yueching's body along Lin Fan's palm. Yu and others had seen it many times before, so they were not too surprised by the scene in front of them, but what happened next made them all open their eyes wide. As the demon cat's power transformed Mu Yueching's body, 2 fluffy cat ears soon appeared on his head, and a knotty cattail also appeared on the tail vertebrae. Lin Yu looked at it. Several people were stunned. Good guy. They have never seen such a transformation into a cat girl. Seeing the cat ears popping out of Mu Yueching's head and the cattail swaying behind her, Lin Yu and the other girls looked at each other and couldn't help but want to touch them to see how they felt. However, considering that Mu Yueching was still in a strange state, the women held back. However, Zhao Yanyan, a good best friend, had some bad idea and waved to Yu Yiren, who was waiting next to her. As one of the 3 noble dogs, Yu Yiren bent down obediently and put her ear next to Zhao Yanyan. Listening to Zhao Yanyan's quiet cooing, her pink face turned slightly, nodded, turned around and walked downstairs, not knowing what she was going to do. After Yu Yiren left, Zhao Yanyan looked Mu Yueching up and down with her beautiful eyes, her eyes looking strange. The teaching of superpowers ended quickly. Lin Fan withdrew his hand and looked at Mu Yueching, who was kneeling in front of him, with a surprised expression on his face. I don't know if it's the effect of the demon cat's superpower, but Mu Yueching, who was originally intellectual and generous, has a lazy and demonic feeling. The most intuitive manifestation is that the corners of her eyes have become narrower, and they are more charming and charming. His face also changed slightly, revealing a lazy and noble aura. The whole face blended noble laziness and Yaorao enchantment, which unknowingly improved Mu Yueching's appearance a little bit. Especially the cute cat ears on the top of his head. Lin Fan didn't worry about anything. He raised his hand and touched it. It felt unusually good and a little warm. These were not decorations, but real cat ears. Touch them. As he listened, Lin Fan felt the little ears in his hand tremble a few times. He lowered his head and looked at Mu Yueching again. At this time, the long and narrow beautiful eyes had opened, and the eyes had turned into the vertical pupils unique to cats. They looked particularly good-looking, and there were even more eyes on both sides of the face. A few faint cat whiskers are not real cat whiskers, but a few thin lines like tattoos. It looks more like a lazy and noble cat, especially with a little wildness. But now the wildness has disappeared, the long and narrow beautiful eyes are misty, and Xiao Zhan timidly said, "My lord." Ear. Ears are a bit sensitive. Forehead. This? Lin Fan rubbed it for a while before letting go. This made Mu Yueching uncomfortable. She let out a low moan and lay directly on Lin Fanchi, exhaling in a small mouth. Seeing Mu Yueching like this, Lin Fan couldn't help but touch his nose, feeling a little excited for no reason. At this time, Zhao Yanyan hid her face and snickered. Now she felt more and more that the decision she just made was the right one. As for whether it would be heartbreaking to tease her best friend, I'm sorry, she has no conscience. Aren't good besties just here to trick you? Especially Mu Yueching now, she really wants to trick her. Not long after, Yu Yiren came up from downstairs with a bag. Zhao Yanyan quietly took it, took a look, and nodded with satisfaction. Cat girl? She is truly a living cat lady. Zhao Wanqing looked at Mu Yueching carefully with a surprised look on her face, her eyes full of curiosity. Zhao Wanqing still knows about cat girls. Although she doesn't watch anime from the island country, she still knows a little about it. Girls are always interested in beautiful things. Lack of resistance. Out of curiosity, Zhao Wanqing looked at the swaying cat's tail behind Mu Yueching, and stroked it. Zhao Wanqing also liked cats. All women like furry things, and she did the same, especially when it came to licking. She has always been very enthusiastic about cat activities that are suitable for all ages. Zhao Wanqing had already started. Lin Yu thought about it, and touched it twice. The feeling was really good. Li Siki didn't have time to control whether her best friend was being masturbated. How does the tail feel? She just wanted to try whether it was fun. Seeing Lin Yu and others enjoying the pleasure of petting the cat with their eyes half closed, Lin Fan had a question mark on his head. What? What do you guys mean? I haven't played with it yet. Understood, why did you start? Looking down at Mu Yueching, who was lying on the bed, Lin Fan was dumbfounded. Something is wrong with you. I was petting the cat and you told me that your ears were sensitive, and then you lay down, and others would be fine, right? Why do you still treat them differently? Is it because the ears and tail are different? Seeing that Lin Yu and the other three were having fun, Lin Fan subconsciously reached over and grabbed a handful of them. Well. Mu Yueching's sudden cry startled Lin Fan, and he quickly let go of his hands. Looking at the dizziness on Mu Yueching's face, he felt that his whole body was not feeling well. There really is a difference in treatment, right? It's okay for others to touch you, but if I touch you, it's like touching a switch. This is too real. Little did she know that Mu Yueching was extremely aggrieved now, and she didn't know what was going on. Anyway, as long as it was Lin Fan, his hands were as if they were electrified. On the contrary, Lin Yu and the others had no problem. Seeing the helpless expression on Lin Fan's face, she just wanted to cry. Next to the sofa, Li Yun and 3 others stood together, watching with envy in their eyes and hearts. They didn't know how long it would take them to touch the edge of the core layer. It was so difficult. It was late at night, and everyone else could pet the cat, but he couldn't. Lin Fan felt unhappy in his heart. What the hell is this? It was so hard to raise a cat lady, but she died after being petted twice. It was really hard to bear. Okay, it's getting late. It's time to rest. There will be a lot to do tomorrow. Getting up from the sofa, Lin Fan turned around and walked back to the room. Lin Yu and the other 3 also let go of Mu Yueching's cattail, looked at each other, and chased after him. Mu Yueching stopped talking and looked at Lin Fan's back was kneeling on the ground in distress, with an expression of indescribable annoyance. Zhao Yanyan waved her hands to Li Yun and the others, indicating that they could leave, and then walked to Mu Yueching's side with her hands behind her back. Qingqing, aren't you happy? Mu Yueching raised his head and glanced at Zhao Yanyan, and nodded dully, feeling unspeakably frustrated. At home, Lin Fan is the king. If Lin Fan is unhappy, how can Mu Yueching be happy? Yanyan, what do you think I should do? Obviously, Mistress Yu and the others can touch my ears and tail and it will be fine, but the Lord is not. Zhao. Yanyan's beautiful eyes were charming, and she leaned into her ear and whispered softly. Because the Lord is a man, I want to give you something good, do you want it? Does this have anything to do with the Lord being a man? Mu Yueching looked suspicious, but now she was attracted by the good things Zhao Yanyan said, and asked. What good things? I'll show you something that can make the Lord happy. I'll go in first, so hurry up. Handing the bag on his back to Mu Yueching, Zhao Yanyan ran back to the room with a sweet smile, leaving Mu Yueching with question marks on his head. After opening the bag and taking a look, Mu Yueching was still a little confused. After taking out the clothes, she understood instantly. After hesitating for a while, when he heard the laughter coming from the other side of the room, Mu Yueching turned around and ran to the bathroom to change, and mustered up the courage to open the door of the master bedroom. Inside the room, he heard the sound of the door opening. Lin Fan turned around subconsciously, and his eyes suddenly froze. He had cat ears on his head, a pink complexion, and was wearing a black and white maid uniform. This maid uniform was a bit bolder than the one in the maid cafe. It could even be said that it's a fun thing in the boudoir. Anyway, just looking at it will make your blood pressure soar. Then the person who suffered was Li Siki, a good best friend. As the instigator, Lin Fan didn't let it go. The light in the master bedroom was turned off in the middle of the night. Under the pitch-black night, demons danced wildly, and the roars of zombies were even more terrifying than those in horror movies. Occasionally, a few frightened and desperate roars could be heard. Survivors who didn't know where they were accidentally found by zombies and ate them as midnight snacks, inside. The sound of rumbling propellers was heard, and in the sky, an armed helicopter quickly passed through the sky. A large number of zombies on the ground chased the sound and ran on the streets. In the cabin, following the light of the searchlight and looking at the ground, Yi Feng was worried about the large number of zombies along the way. It is almost certain that the army will enter the city, but with so many zombies in the Magic City, can it be quelled by just hundreds of thousands of troops? Major, the headquarters has sent over the coordinates of the target point. Do you want to take a look? After coming back to his senses and looking at the soldiers in front of him, Yi Feng nodded. Give me the battle report. The soldier handed the combat report in his left hand to Yi Feng. Yi Feng took it and opened it and took a look. Bingbing Fitness Club? Shen Bingbing? Dahua Commercial Building? Keeping several important pieces of information in mind, Yi Feng handed the combat report back to the soldiers and said, "Inform the driver, move forward at full speed. The target is Bingbing Fitness Club." "Yes, Major." With Yi Feng's order, the speed of the armed helicopter increased, and the rumbling sound woke up countless sleeping survivors. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Shen Bingbing, who had been playing excitedly for half the night, had just fallen asleep for a while when he was awakened by the deafening roar. Shen Bingbing subconsciously covered his eyes at the dazzling light coming from the window. Several girls even screamed and got under the quilt. Shen Bingbing's voice was filled with panic. He didn't know yet what happened. In the dazzling light, it seemed that several figures walked in quickly. "Are you the boss of Bingbing Club, Shen Bingbing?" Blocking his eyes with his palms, Shen Bingbing looked at the tall figures in military uniforms in front of him, and instantly felt no sleepiness at all. "Yes, I am. Are you here to rescue us?" Yi Feng looked at the handsome Shen Bingbing in front of him, nodded, clicked out the video on his phone, and put it in front of Shen Bingbing. "Was this post made by you? You took the video too, right?" A sudden thought occurred in Shen Bingbing's heart. He didn't expect that the army would come to him just for posting a post. He really just followed the network cable to deal with him. Couldn't this thing be posted? "Right. It's just me. Can't I post this? I don't know. Can I delete it now?" Shen Bingbing panicked. After hearing Shen Bingbing's personal confirmation, Yi Feng put his phone away and gestured to the soldier next to him. "Ask the pilot to park the helicopter on the roof. It's not early today." "Okay, now I'm staying here for the night, and we'll go to the hospital tomorrow." "Yes, Major." Shen Bingbing's eyes were blank. What does this mean? Do you occupy the magpie's nest? The key is that he didn't dare to say anything. Looking back, seeing the panic on Shen Bingbing's face, Yi Feng comforted him. "Now, freedom of speech. You don't have to worry about us being detrimental to you, but for your personal safety, you have to go back to the military area with us for protection to prevent you from being persecuted by foreign forces. I hope you can cooperate." Yi Feng's tone was very tough and he couldn't tolerate any rejection at all. Shen Bingbing complained in his heart that he didn't dare to refuse. He didn't want to try whether the gun in the other person's hand was real. But just protect, at least. He no longer has to be surrounded by zombies, he has no characteristics, and he doesn't have to worry about being dissected. Thinking about it this way, Shen Bingbing feels that it's not bad to seem to have no abilities, at least he doesn't have to worry about the mess. Neither does Yi Feng. Knowing what Shen Bingbing was thinking in his mind, he felt relieved to see Shen Bingbing being so cooperative. "I need to stay at your place tonight. I have some things to do tomorrow morning. Sorry to bother you." Shen Bingbing waved his hands hurriedly, not caring about his lack of clothes. Anyway, everyone was a man. He jumped to open the door, and then arranged for Yi Feng and others to stay. After Yi Feng and others went out, the woman popped her head out from under the quilt and chattered beside Shen Bingbing. "Are we going to be rescued? Army, it must be safe over there, right? Finally, I don't have to be trapped in a room with corpses anymore. Damn it, I'm going to go crazy from being suffocated." Shen Bingbing glanced at the girls, covered his head and continued to sleep. After being trapped in the club for more than a month, he was almost going crazy from the suffocation. He could only eat and sleep all day long, and could not go out. His only entertainment was the activity is to play games, and then play 4-player landlords with 3 girls. After a long time, you will get tired of it, especially in this kind of bad environment where there is no tomorrow today. In the next room, after a soldier reported his work, he looked at Yi Feng, who was resting, asked, "Major, why don't we go directly to the hospital? My subordinate just checked the map and found that it is only 8 or 9 kilometers away from here." Yi Feng glanced at the soldier in front of him, patted him on the shoulder, and said seriously, "What time is it? Don't you know it's disturbing the people? It's not too late to go tomorrow morning. Okay, you can go out." The question mark on the soldier's end, disturbing the people? You came here and broke the window directly. I didn't see you saying that you were disturbing the people. This is too double standard. But he just thought about this. Questioning the order from the summit? "Young man, have you ever worn your little shoes?" The night became quiet again, leaving only the roar of zombies still roaring. As the morning star appeared on the horizon, the sun quickly rose from the horizon, and a new day arrived. Because there were a lot of things going on today, including Lin Fan, almost no one at home slept in. Everyone got up at around 7 o'clock in the morning, except for a certain cat lady. After getting dressed under Zhao Yanyan's service, Lin Fan stretched his muscles and bones and ordered, "Don't call Qingqing today, wait until she wakes up naturally." Poof! Zhao Yanyan couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at Mu Yuqing, who was sleeping like a dead pig, she didn't feel guilty at all for cheating her good sister. Instead, she felt a little gloating about her misfortune. "Dare you laugh? Were you the one who gave Qingqing the clothes yesterday?" Zhao Yanyan looked innocent when Lin Fan glared at her, but it was clearly written on her face that I did it on purpose. "You can't rely on me for this matter. Who knew Qingqing could be so useless?" I pinched my ears and stopped eating. I'm still addicted to eating. Can you blame me if I can't wake up today? It's up to you whether it's justified or not. Lin Fan glanced sideways at Zhao Yanyan and didn't say anything. Anyway, he was the one who got the benefit. It was very comfortable for him last night. Naturally, Mu Yuqing was the one who suffered. Mao the maid is really good. In the hospital square, nearly 1,000 women gathered here. There were many things going on today. After dinner, Lin Yu came here first. 621 women, every 20 people stood in a row, a total of 31 rows. At a glance, they were all densely packed with human heads. These are the women who chose to become female warriors yesterday, a total of 621 people. In the blink of an eye, he took a few steps to the front of the women. Looking at the phalanx of hundreds of people in front of him, Lin Fan felt a lot of emotion in his heart. After all, the verbal description was not as good as seeing it with his own eyes. The phalanx of more than 600 people was indeed spectacular. System. Redeem me 607 Tang knives. Ding. After deducting 6,070 points, Tang Dao has been sent to the master's personal space. The points that were already not rich were reduced by more than half. The reason why they were redeemed for 607 is because there were some women who were not qualified before, were kicked out by Lin Yu, and were frightened by Wang Kui's thugs and could not swing their swords. Such women are still obedient. Just go to the bottom and save your life on the battlefield. After glancing around with cold eyes, Lin Fan took in the expressions of all the women. I don't care what your purpose is in choosing to become a female warrior, it doesn't matter. The moment you pick up the knife, you'd better be prepared to die. After saying that, Lin Fan waved his hand casually, and 621 Tang knives appeared out of thin air. The bright Tang knives with their handles were inserted into the ground in front of the girls like meteors falling to the ground, and they were buried in the ground for 3 minutes. This is a weapon that will accompany you throughout your life. The sword will be there for you, but it will destroy everyone. I hope you will keep it in mind. After saying this, Lin Fan nodded to Lin Yu next to him. Lin Yu will arrange all the next things. They were all explained yesterday. Lin Fan will not care about the rest. Today's task is very heavy. Improve the earth attribute ability, then erect a barbed wire fence in an area of 10 kilometers, and then build a city wall. Turn around and leave, shrinking the ground under your feet, but after taking a few steps, in the eyes of the girls, you were just a shadow was left, and then disappeared completely. Taking over Lin Fan's work, Lin Yu looked at the women who were divided into 2 square formations in front of her, and commanded, Li Fengzhao, Zhu Fangfang, Xu Yan. 157 people including you were divided into 2 groups. 2 teams were formed, with Li Siki and Zhao Yanyan as captains, clearing away zombies from the east and west sides within a 10-kilometer radius and moving further away. Zhao Yanyan and Li Siki took a step forward and waved to Li Fengzhao and others. The phalanx of 157 people was quickly dispersed, gathered around the 2 of them, and then ran directly from the gate to the east and west sides. Zhao Wanqing led these new recruits to clean up all the zombies in the north and south areas and ensure that there is no zombie within 10 kilometers. Yes. Guaranteed to complete the task. Zhao Wanqing took a step forward, her eyes were cold and stern, she waved her palm and shouted, Jasmine, Zhou Shuyan, come out. In the crowd, Zhou Shuyan and Jasmine were shocked, and they took a step forward under the envious eyes of many female warriors. Jasmine, I know something about your ability. Your task today is to lead 300 people to clean up all the zombies in the North District. Zhou Shuyan, You lead the rest of the people with me to the South District. I need you to remember that there is nothing scary about zombies. The really scary thing is you. Now, take up your weapons and follow me. Zhao Wanqing acted resolutely. After her voice fell, Zhou Shuyan pulled out the tang knife from the ground and led the 320 people at the front to Zhao Wanqing quickly. Then she went straight to the North District. The remaining 299 people, including Jasmine, turned around and charged towards the back door of the hospital, that is, in the direction of the South District. After everyone left, Lin Yu looked at the last 89 maids. Your task today is to find a car and bring all the cars that can be driven on the streets within a 10-kilometer radius. Find them all and mark them. Do you understand everything? The 89 maids who were still a little confused nodded quickly and responded in unison. I understand. Go ahead. The 89 maids spread out and ran in the 4 directions of east, west, north and south. They began to look for vehicles that could start normally along the way. After finding them, they put the prepared labels on the roofs of the vehicles. Almost everyone in the entire hospital was in action. 10 kilometers to the east, looking at the zombies still wandering on the ground, Lin Fan raised his arms. In an instant, the ground behind him seemed to come to life, stirring crazily, and then hundreds of sharp soil cones rose from the ground. It curved in midair and then extended indefinitely. The zombies that smelled Lin Fan's living scent howled and rushed towards Lin Fan. Hundreds of sharp thorns passed through the air. The rushing zombies were instantly strung into countless candied haws. Ding! Killing zombies +1, points +1, Earth Element Control Experience +1, current experience is 500/500ths. Ding! Your ability to control the Earth Element has been upgraded. Your current level is LV5, and your ability to control the Earth Element has been improved. Ding! +1 for killing zombies, +1 points, +1 Earth Element Control Experience, current experience is 21,000ths. Ding! +1 for killing zombies, +1 points, +1 Earth Element Control Experience, current experience is 251/1000ths. Ding! The prompts jumped wildly in his mind until the last zombie was penetrated. Hundreds of dragon-like ground thorns dissipated out of thin air and turned into dust and returned to the ground. Hundreds of zombies lost support and fell to the ground. The earth element energy in the body was turbulent, and the 4-dimensional attributes were slowly increasing, and then calmed down soon. It's only level 5, it's not enough. Shaking his head, Lin Fan walked to the designated place and spread out his palms casually. The vehicles on both sides decomposed at this moment, and boundless steel powder floated into the air, eventually forming pieces of barbed wire connected together. Lifting his feet with a gentle stamp, the ground cracked, and the barbed wire mesh sank nearly 1 meter along the crack. The cracked ground slowly closed together, and there was no trace of any cracks. The steel wire mesh was 3 meters high, with countless steel wires intertwined. The largest hole is no more than the size of a child's fist. The steel wire is as thick as an index finger. The steel pipe connecting the steel mesh is solidly cast, and is as thick as an adult's forearm, and the high-strength compressed steel pillar cannot be destroyed even by a missile in a short time. This a piece of steel wire mesh was nearly 100 meters long, completely separating both sides of the street. He leaned forward and tapped his fingers on the steel wire. Listening to the thick sound, Lin Fan nodded with satisfaction. Although these steel wire meshes it is only used for urgent needs, but at least the quality and quantity must be maintained. The figure flew into the air, and as Lin Fan flew past, the abandoned vehicles on the street were decomposed one after another, forming pieces of brand new steel wire mesh standing on the ground, with a limit of 10 kilometers. The streets on both sides were completely isolated, and the zombies that came over after smelling the smell of living people were blocked by the steel wire mesh. Cleaning up the zombies, breaking down the vehicles, and setting up the steel wire mesh, 3 points and 1 line, the experience of controlling the earth element increased rapidly. The steel wire mesh on the east side is about to be completed. Ding! Killing zombies +1, points +1, earth element control experience +1, current experience is 1000/1000. Ding! Your ability to control the earth element has been upgraded. Your current level is LV6, and your ability to control the earth element has been improved. After clearing out some of the obstructive zombies again, the earth elemental control power was upgraded. After crossing the limit of LV5, every time you advance, the power will have a qualitative change from the previous level. The earth element energy in the body becomes thicker, and the body the defense of the watch is stronger, and the quality of energy is also higher. Earth wall. After the promotion was completed, Lin Fan raised his foot and stamped his foot. A 2-meter-high earth wall rose from the ground. Lin Fan stepped forward and looked at it carefully. The earth wall was completely black and gray and looked very textured. There were fine details on the wall. The lines seemed to be the scales of some animal. Lin Fan could feel it when he touched it. These fine lines seemed to be deliberately repelling his strength. Dong dong. He raised his middle finger and tapped on the earth wall. There was a dull sound. There was a sound like a metal collision, which showed that the texture was very tyrannical. Lin Fan took out the pistol he had captured before, pointed it at the earth wall and pulled the trigger. The sound of the gun echoed. The bullets in the magazine were empty, and there were white streaks on the wall. The seal did not appear. Lin Fan took out the micro-charge from before, pointed at the earth wall and pulled the trigger mercilessly. After the bullet was empty, there was still no white mark on the earth wall. Looking at this defensive power, Lin Fan nodding secretly, he took out the anti-materiel sniper rifle from before. He pulled the trigger at close range, and flames burst out from the muzzle of the large-caliber anti-materiel sniper rifle. A bullet burst out of the barrel. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes. The bullet was traveling at extremely high speed in his eyes. Slowing down, the dense cyclone drew a long line behind the bullet, and the golden bullet hit the earth wall instantly. Ripples visible to the naked eye spread out, like a drop of water on the surface of the water, and the impact followed those fine lines. It spread, rippled to the surroundings, and then quickly returned to the far point. The force was no less than that of a bullet hitting the wall. It rebounded at this moment. The sharp bullet head was instantly crushed, and then lost power and fell to the ground. At an extremely slow angle, this bullet bounced back. With everything in sight, a strange color flashed in Lin Fan's eyes. These fine scale-like lines were a bit powerful. They actually divided the power of the sniper rifle bullet and then bounced it back. There is no doubt about the power of the anti-material sniper rifle. Even the least powerful anti-material sniper rifle can penetrate a 10 mm thick steel plate within a mid-range range of 500 meters without the influence of external forces. This is a 10 mm thick steel plate. It is such a powerful destructive power. But there is no way to leave any white mark on the earth wall in front of me. This is enough to prove the defensive ability of this earth wall. I am afraid that it will only be possible to use cannons and missiles to cause damage to it. It has verified the defensive ability of the earth wall. Lin Fan waved his hand and dispersed the earth wall. The L6 earth attribute power was theoretically enough for defense, but Lin Fan still felt a little unsatisfied. However, considering that he needed to kill 10,000 zombies to advance to LV7, Lin Fan had it. Nod big. Let's go to LV6. Use it for now. When you advance to LV7, you can strengthen the city wall again. That being said, Lin Fan is not in a hurry to erect the city wall now. Firstly, there is not enough time, and secondly, it is too slow. The top priority is to erect a steel wire mesh to prevent zombies from wandering in endlessly. It's not a problem if it can't be cleaned up all the time. After putting down the last piece of steel mesh on the east side, Lin Fan planned to go to the South District, but before he could leave, he heard a roar flying from the distance. His eyes subconsciously looked over. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes slightly. At an altitude of several hundred meters, a camouflage-colored armed helicopter flew through the sky, flying straight towards the hospital. Seeing this military helicopter, Lin Fan sighed. What is supposed to come has come. The evil spirit will never die. Although he went to bed relatively late at the Bingbing Club, Yi Feng got up very early, and several soldiers, including the driver, were waiting outside. After what happened last night, Shen Bingbing and the 3 women basically didn't sleep well, and they all got up at dawn in the morning. After simply eating something, after Shen Bingbing and the other 2 had packed up their things, the group boarded the helicopter and flew to the Second Key Hospital in the magical city. Yi Feng has always kept those women in the Second Key Hospital in his heart. After seeing them last time, Yi Feng was surprised by their physical fitness and courage. He didn't want these good soldiers to sink into the tide of corpses. It can be said that in Yi Feng's eyes, the women in the Second Key Hospital are much more important than Shen Bingbing. A military helicopter flew over the sky. In the cabin, Yi Feng was closing his eyes to rest. After his last experience, he didn't even go to the rooftop of the Dahua commercial building. He knew there was no point in going there. If the other party didn't want him to find out, it would be useless for him to wander around 10 times. It would be easier to wait for the army to enter the city and then conduct a blanket search, so he would just go straight to the hospital. On the way, the main driver in the cab looked at the steel wire mesh erected on the ground with confusion, turned to the co-pilot next to him and asked, "Did you see these steel wire mesh when you came here last time?" The co-pilot glanced at the steel wire mesh that was getting farther and farther away, thought for a while, and asked, "I didn't seem to be here last time, right? If you ask me, who should I ask?" The soldier on the main driver suddenly felt embarrassed. Decisively skip this question, stop talking, and concentrate on flying the helicopter. On the ground, watching the military helicopters flying over the sky, Lin Fan felt a little helpless. These big guys are just evil-minded. Why don't they just be your local emperors? Why do you have to come here to provoke him? It's a waste of his time and feelings. After shaking his head, Lin Fan gave up on continuing to lay the steel mesh in the south and turned back to the hospital. At this time, he still needed to make the decision. Using shrink, Lin Fan's figure flickered on the street. 1 second he was hundreds of meters away, and the next second he disappeared. He was many times faster than a helicopter. In the cabin, a soldier looked down at the ground with confusion in his eyes. "Why are all the zombies dead?" The soldier next to him seemed to hear something, turned around and asked in confusion, "Everything is dead." Look below. All the zombies on the street seem to be dead, and there is not a single standing zombie at all. It's so strange. Could it be that they were cleaned up by some survivor force? Real or fake? The soldier next to him heard this and looked at the ground through the glass. He was suddenly surprised and said, "It's true, there are too many zombies killed. There are so many corpses on the ground." The conversation between the two attracted Yi Feng's attention. Yi Feng frowned, looked at the two and asked, "What are you two talking about?" The two soldiers were startled, and quickly stood up and saluted. "Report to the major. We found that all the zombies on the street below are dead, and they are suspected to have been cleaned up by a force composed of survivors." Yi Feng was stunned when he heard this, and quickly moved to the window to look at the ground, looking at the countless corpses lying on the street, and shouted, "Driver, lower the height." The height of the helicopter dropped, and Yi Feng could see more clearly. Looking at the piles of zombie corpses on the street, Yi Feng was indescribably shocked. He discovered that these zombies were not killed by guns, but were all killed by cold weapons. This shocked him so much. The concepts of using guns and using cold weapons are different. Firearms are meant to stand at a distance and shoot, while cold weapons require close combat. The infectious power of zombies is terrifying. If you are not careful, even one bite is enough to be infected into zombies. At a glance, there are more than thousands of corpses on the spacious street. Yi Feng can't imagine what kind of brutal battle he went through to kill all these zombies. Death. The zombies' heads are almost all thinking about the east. In other words, the people who clean up are coming from the west. Looking along the street to the end, in front of the long street, there's the sign of the Second Key Hospital in the Magic City. It's so conspicuous. Shouldn't this be? Recalling the first time he saw the women in the hospital using tang knives to kill zombies from a helicopter, Yi Feng carefully looked at the wounds on the zombies. The length was very similar to the wounds caused by tang knives. Thinking that it was the women in the hospital who rushed out to kill the zombies, Yi Feng was indescribably shocked. Even if he led a team of strictly trained special forces and held cold weapons, he would not be able to achieve such a shocking result. He simply couldn't dare to imagine how tough and courageous those women in the hospital are. The more shocked he was, the more Yi Feng wanted to bring all the women in the hospital back to the military area. With such a strong quality, with a little training, he would definitely be a sharp knife that is second to none. Major Yi, there are still 300 meters away from the Second Key Hospital in Magic City. Listening to the voice from the driver in front, Yi Feng took a deep breath and packed his luggage. He was ready. In the hospital, Lin Fan moved a large sofa and sat in front of the supermarket, with 3 poodles beside him. One of them, Li Yun, stood beside him with a fruit plate and delivered the cut fruits piece by piece to Lin Fan. Lin Yu was also sitting next to her. She already knew the purpose of Lin Fan's return. Lin Yu also felt a little annoyed about the military region. I simply settled everything today. The roar of the helicopter came from far away. Lin Fan raised his head and glanced, just in time to see the helicopter flying overhead. I wonder if the person driving the helicopter noticed Lin Fan on the ground. The helicopter he changed the direction and landed towards the hospital. The dust was blown up by the hurricane blown by the propeller. Lin Fan rolled his eyes and grabbed it. The armed helicopter was fixed in midair, and everything including the propeller and the engine where it stopped functioning, and then was casually placed on the ground by Lin Fan like a toy. In the cab, the alarm sounded long, and the driver looked at the mess of pointers and instruments in front of him. Everyone was dumbfounded, especially the operating lever. He was disobedient, and his heart almost stopped in fear. Until he landed safely on the ground, the driver didn't realize what was going on. The engine stalled for no reason. And then there was no crash. No matter how you look at it, isn't it weird? In the cabin, Yi Feng heard the piercing siren, and the helicopter's weird state. Yi Feng also felt it, and felt that something was wrong. Yi Feng said with a serious expression, "What's going on? Why did the alarm suddenly go off?" "Major Yi, my subordinates don't know. Judging from the dashboard, our helicopter's power system has lost its function. The engine stalled, the propeller stopped operating, and then the height dropped from more than 70 meters in an instant. We saw 0 meters, which means we have landed now. But theoretically speaking, it is impossible for us to land so fast. Even if the propeller stops operating, it is impossible to land directly on the ground within 1 second. Even if we can, our current situation should be a crash and explosion. But now we have nothing to do." Looking at the main pilot's appearance of about to collapse, Yi Feng took a deep breath and looked out the window. He had indeed fallen to the ground. This operation seemed to be a little unsatisfactory. Yi Feng had never calculated it. Unexpectedly, the supernatural power he had been looking for was actually here in the hospital, and it happened to him, but he was passive. Yi Feng was also a major who experienced strong winds and waves, and quickly calmed down. "Let's go down, the other party should be waiting for us." After saying that, Yi Feng opened the door of the cabin and stepped out of the helicopter. With a resolute glance, Yi Feng quickly noticed Lin Fan at the entrance of the supermarket. There was nothing he could do. The target was too big and too conspicuous. "Look." Sitting on the sofa, Lin Fan was looking at him with his arms crossed. Yi Feng glanced at Li Yun, who had a collar around his neck and was feeding Lin Fan with a fruit plate. He then looked at Lin Yu, who was sitting next to him, silently labeling Lin Fan a bad guy. There was nothing he could do about it. The collar around Li Yun's neck didn't look like something a good person would do. In fact, Lin Fan took the blame, but it didn't matter, and neither did Lin Fan. We'll care about other people's opinions. Dang dang dang. The door of the supermarket was pushed open, and Su Xiaoluo, who had slept peacefully, ran out like a happy little rabbit. His big eyes curiously looked at the military equipment that fell on the ground. Helicopter, and then looked at a bunch of soldiers curiously. To be honest, this was the first time she had seen such a big guy at such a close distance in her entire life. She walked all the way to the helicopter and looked at it carefully. She was completely surprised. Keeping Yi Feng and others in mind, a few soldiers wanted to scold them, but were stopped by Yi Feng. Yi Feng had already seen it. Wasn't the little loli in front of him the first person before? That little girl in the video? As for the man in front of him, his profile also reminded him of the immortal, flying from the sky. Yi Feng felt very emotional in his heart. Could this be considered as a deliberate attempt to plant flowers that will not bloom, but an unintentional planting of willows that will create shade? He didn't even plan to look for it, but the blind cat happened to run into a dead mouse. Thinking of the zombies on the street, Yi Feng was instantly relieved. With such powerful people around, those zombies shouldn't be too much of a problem. Lin Fan didn't pay attention to Su Xiaoluo's curious behavior. He just let her take a look if she was curious. Su Xiaoluo had just completed a big thing. Let alone take a look, there was no problem even leaving the helicopter. As long as Su Xiaoluo spoke. As for how these people in front of them will go back, Lin Fan thinks it depends on the situation. If they don't know what is good, they will disappear from the world. If their attitude is still human, let them go back and spread the word. Yi Feng and Lin Fan looked at each other and packed their bags. Yi Feng strode forward and stopped 3 meters away from Lin Fan. Major Yi Feng of the Lu family, the warlord of Jili Demon City. What is your name? Lin Fan. Yi Feng understood in his heart and spread his hands to the side. Soon the soldiers behind him sent a report to Yi Feng. Looking at Yi Feng's actions, Lin Fan knew that the highlight was coming.